Is the 15th. We appreciate you being here early on Saturday morning. Very delighted to have Jonathan Chapman co-hosting with me here today. And we're going to jump right into our presentations. We're expecting quite a few to join us this morning and want to walk through just a couple of things as we're getting started. Let's see here, make sure our slides are working. So the first State of African Americans in North Omaha was held December 2006. And we've grown quite a bit since then. The Empowerment Network has worked with many partners. The formation happened in 2006, the formal launch in 2007. We continued to work on working together to develop overall plans in 2011 with the North Omaha Village Plan. The initial transformation meetings, which we'll be updating today, happened in 2014, and we launched it, announced it in 2015. Many of the strategies, plans, we're working together. And obviously in 2020, we have been impacted severely in the community and across the world with COVID-19. But as a part of that planning, we focused on these strategies that were developed by the community and then also with input from the Pew Research Center. And you can see those top three strategies they recommended was improving graduation rates, reducing violent crime, decreasing unemployment, and there are other strategies that were identified. But those were the priorities as we started out in 2006, 2007. And as we continued to move forward in 2014, 2015, we worked together with the community. Over 8,000 people over the years have provided input. We condensed our 13 areas of focus down to these 4, and everything that we do is driven out of these strategies. In 2014-15, again, with over 8,000 people, including youth and young adults, we turned those strategies into the transformation plan. We set a 10-year goal of getting to these strategies that are outlined in the plan. You can see here, I'm going through this quickly so we can move into David's presentation and give us an update of where things are. But we turned those goals with the community into strategies and action plans. And then we created a scorecard that on an annual basis, we would come back to the community and identify by area from employment, entrepreneurship, housing, all of these various areas, violence prevention, health, healthy families. Let's get an update. So today is about a quick update on the data, what are the trends, and then we'll hear from our elected officials and talk about where we go from now. So this is an incredibly important time for North Omaha, for the city of Omaha, for the entire state of Nebraska in this region. And we want to quickly bring in David Droz. He's been with us, I think, 7 or 8 years, providing us the state of North Omaha from the data point. I've asked him to give us an update on the transition and the changes that are happening in North Omaha. He is now the data and research analyst for Community Health Partners. So let's please welcome David Droz.
Okay, thanks so much, Willie. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that I can control the PowerPoint here. So go ahead and get it started. So hopefully you should be seeing this welcome screen regarding this presentation on data trends. Like Willie said, I've been at the meeting for several years. I think 7 or 8 is a pretty good estimate. And I've always been a representative of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. But about 2 months ago, I transitioned to a new role at Community Health Development Partners. But I'm still doing the same types of things in the data realm, working on primarily Census Bureau statistics that are needed for grants and other projects. So I'm very happy to continue on with our partnership and collaborate as we try to move the needle and keep things going in a positive direction. And we'll see how there have been a lot of improvements coming out of the Great Recession. So we don't quite have COVID related data yet. The Census Bureau has delayed some of that release just to make sure that it meets all their quality applications and measures. So we'll start to see our new 5-year American Community Survey data in March that will have some of the pandemic influences. But so in light of that, I'm going to take you back over time to the past and see how things look relative to earlier points in time. So let me go ahead and advance to the next slide. So just a very quick, brief bit on Community Health Development Partners, because we are a relatively new group within the last couple of years. We do focus primarily on lower income and underserved populations and community groups. So our big project in the Omaha area is called the Intersections. It was announced around Thanksgiving time, and will be a mixed-use development on health and wellness facilities at about 28th and Martha in Omaha. So it's all still in the planning phases and kind of going through that. But when you take a 5-mile radius around the site, that goes from Bellevue all the way up into North Omaha. So that will be some of the primary people who can use the facility most easily because it's the shortest commute. But we do expect events to gather folks from across the Omaha area as well as across the region when there's larger events. So feel free to reach out to me anytime. Again, I'll have my contact information on the last slide if you didn't catch it there on that first slide. I know that Willie will probably be able to share these slides with folks who are interested also. If you want to see them in detail, go ahead and ask for those. Also, if you have questions, we'll put them into the chat because I won't have time at the end to answer, but we'll go ahead and answer those after I'm done by responding to the chat. Okay, so I wanted to kind of two new things here. One is to look at the new 2020 census numbers, and then two, to kind of look at our socioeconomic trends over time. So wanted to just bring us back a little bit. The last time I was here, we had been in census mode, and we were having a lot of partnerships to increase census response, and that was effective. We did see especially better self-response in urban areas, and that leads to better data because if you have to talk to the census taker who comes to your door, there's always a little bit of hesitancy to release your personal information. But when you take the time to fill it out on your own, that works a lot better. So self-response did improve. Part of that is because there was actually more time to respond, given that the door knocking from the Census Bureau was delayed due to COVID. So that was maybe one blessing in disguise of the pandemic, as that we were able to get better numbers. It was a lot of headaches for the Census Bureau as they tried to put it all together. But they did send out a couple additional mailings that helped prompt people to go ahead and self-respond, as well as when people did start that door-to-door enumeration process. If somebody wasn't home, nobody answered the door, then they left behind a postcard that allowed the email or the web address to be listed where they complete the census online. So online completion was something we didn't have 10 years ago, so that really helped. So like I said, we had a lot of folks do a lot of creative things to help with the census, especially during the pandemic. So if you were involved with that, just thanks so much. You're going to see the impact of that and those efforts in the numbers. So here's just a little bit of detail on the self-response. So I have our couple of top responding counties here that are urban areas. Here's Douglas County itself. Notice that it made the top 10 for self-response with almost 75% of households responding on their own. That is well improved versus 2010 when the county only ranked 25th, so only about the top quarter of counties among Nebraska locations back in 2010. And again, the improvements of about 3 percentage points in self-response ranked in the top 10 also. The other thing I wanted to point out here was Sarpy County. About 10% of the Omaha Metro's Black population is living in Sarpy County, and we did see a much better count there as well. So between the two areas, we should really have some good data to try to understand how things are changing. With that in mind, this count did come in for Douglas County about 11,000 persons higher than what census estimated, and that is in thanks partly due to that improved self-response. So I wanted to talk about the two impacts of that because the census is really done for two reasons, and our two impacts from it is that are the money and the power. So a study by George Washington University shows that about $21,000 flow in per person per decade based upon population formulas for roads and infrastructure, health, education, those types of topics. So you can do the math on that, and basically it'll be about $230 million more based upon this better count over the course of the next decade. The other piece on the power, we will see increased political representation, and that's why the census is done for redistricting and the allocation of equal districts of equal size. Okay, moving on, here's the specific statistics for North Omaha, defined as Willie and the Empowerment Network does for the 3 zip codes, 68104, 110, and 111. So I'm going to talk first about non-Hispanic white and non-Hispanic Black population. So got the last 5 censuses here, and you'll see in these 3 zip codes, the white population has declined in each and every one going forward. The Black population was rising, but it's also slipped back just a little bit the last couple of decades. And I wanted to compare those two trends to other racial and ethnic groups that we see here. So moving on to Asian, back in the 80s and 90s, even through 2000, there was virtually no Asian population in North Omaha. And now you've seen that really explode upwards, up to more than almost 6,700 people. So it's sizable now. When I get to the percentages, we'll see that the North Omaha used to be primarily white and Black. Now it's much more of a diverse location, many population groups. You'll see that here along with our multi-race category, people who select more than one race also has grown a lot. And then our Hispanic Latino, again, from up only about 1,000 earlier on, now approaching 10,000. So almost 10 times more Hispanic Latino individuals in the area than back in 1980. Overall, total population, you can see the sums here. What I'm going to highlight is that we had 3 consecutive decades of population loss that turned around here in the 2010s. So population growth is seen as a positive factor. More people to support the local businesses for their goods and services. So to have that break in trend is a good thing to see there. Okay, I mentioned on the percent distribution, just a little bit different way of looking at it. But again, we see that it switched over from being majority white to majority African American back in 2000, and that regains its plurality here with about the most population being Black or African American. But we're seeing almost 10% of North Omaha being Asian and more than 10% being Hispanic or Latino. So takeaways from that, again, Black population the largest, but we do see those other rises. So notice these takeaway boxes as I go throughout the presentation. That's what to focus on. And then secondly, again, while metro-wide white and Black populations have grown, the North Omaha populations of those 2 particular groups are lower than what they were back in 1980. Okay, one of the things that's happening with that, and notice on all my slides where I have graphs, I'll have a takeaway here at the top, and then the exact title, and then flowing in the actual graph here. So this is showing percent of the population that's foreign born. The orange line is our North Omaha area with those 3 zip codes. The gray line is Douglas County overall. I'm going to start these series of graphs back in either 1990 or 1980, and then go up to our current time frame with the most recent ACS 5-year product going through 2019. And we can see how this orange line was lower, and now it has crossed, and there's relatively more people who have immigrated to the United States living in North Omaha than Douglas County overall. So that is a shift. Some of the specifics on that, we do see that more than 50% of that foreign-born population living in North Omaha are folks who were born in Asian countries in that part of the world. About a quarter are from Latin America, and then 20% from African countries. Top 3 as I list them here, the Burmese population, those from Thailand, and then Mexico. So that's our foreign-born locations for people living currently in North Omaha. Wanted to bring that up because as we put that in light of other changes that we're going to see, there are differences between our foreign-born population and the native-born population. So this data is not specific to North Omaha, but it is for the northeast part of Douglas County. To be accurate, I wanted to expand that a little bit, but this would not include the foreign-born population in South Omaha or other parts of western Douglas County. So here are those specifics, looking at differences between native-born residents and foreign-born. So household size does pop out. I look at a lot of this data, and that's one of the larger differences that I see in average household size. So those foreign-born households are larger in general. That suggests a lot of children. Notice here on not having a high school diploma, less than 10% for North Omaha residents who are born in the United States. But for those who are born outside the United States, almost 60% do not have a high school diploma. So that is a really high number. And again, we'll speak to other challenges as it relates to unemployment and earnings. I'll just shift down to poverty because that's a pretty easy thing to understand. So large differential. So as the population composition changes, that will have an impact on some of the other data we're going to see on poverty and home ownership and some of the initiatives that the Empowerment Network is working on. Okay, so let's talk about bachelor's degrees. I like to start there with education. So same type of graph looking at this over time. And we see that there has been some growth, especially compared back to 1990 in our North Omaha population with a bachelor's degree, but it is a lot less than the Douglas County average. And you can run the numbers, and it's consistently been about half the Douglas County average for the portion of the North Omaha population that has a degree. And again, that has impacts on earnings potential, employment, etc. But we do see growth. It is moving in the right direction, and that's good to see. Same type of slide for unemployment. So when we take a look at that, obviously unemployment spiked during the Great Recession. So this data here would be centered on 2009 and 2010. So we can see that it jumped up from earlier levels in North Omaha, as it did in the county. It's subsequently come down, but now kind of started to, the descent has slowed a little bit. We haven't seen a lot of change here. It has continued to drop countywide as well. So we're basically back at the same level that we were in some of these earlier time periods, but we definitely have more work to do and to try to keep those jobs coming and getting people the skills they need to flourish on the job. So again, about double the county average here for unemployment. When we come to poverty, same type of thing. Obviously spiked during the Great Recession. It is coming down both countywide and in North Omaha. But here you'll see the poverty still does remain elevated. It's lower than at the start of the Great Recession, but it is higher than what it was in earlier decades. So we have seen some shift there. So it does speak to the continued efforts and emphasis that we need on programs for jobs and things that help move the needle regarding poverty. So again, double the county average. So that's kind of the theme here, and pretty easy item to remember as you're comparing the two locations. Finally, on North Omaha home ownership, this is also something that has changed over time. Initially back in 1980, home ownership was higher in the 3 zip codes than in Douglas County overall, became equal in 1990. And then you can see this downward trend that has finally stopped it. And we've seen this improvement the last couple of years, also improving slightly in the county. So hopefully that will continue. We'll see what happens as we get some of the COVID data. That's definitely encouraging. But again, it's just a portion of the overall decline, that we've seen this bounce back the last couple of years. So we'll see if we can keep that moving in the right direction. Finally, I want to end up today just talking more about metro-wide for our Black population to show some of the improvements we've had over time, just to keep that in mind. This is, a lot of the work that so many groups are doing to make improvements really has made a difference. So look here at bachelor's degrees. You can see back in the late 2000s, it was about 16.5%. That's improved by 5 percentage points. And among the top 100 metros, we went from middle of the pack to definitely being in a better spot, 39th best. So that's a fair improvement in a short period of time. Also highlight unemployment rate. Again, 16% back in the late 2000s. We're in the bottom 20 metros. Now it's been cut in half, down to 8%, and in the top quarter of the most populated metros. So again, that's been a big change. In some earlier data, it was even ranking a little bit better, but some other locations have caught us as the economy has generally improved pre-COVID. And then finally, I'll highlight something else that we haven't talked about: married couples as a percentage of families. This is an important driver of things like poverty, because married couples have a much lower poverty rate than single parents. So we again see a shift here, not too many percentage points, but our ranking has definitely shifted a large degree. So that is where my presentation ends here, with just one final note on some of that data. So I appreciate your time, and again, put questions in the chat and I'll answer them as we move forward. So I'm going to stop my screen share and turn it back over to Willie. Thanks so much.
David, thank you very much. I know there was one question immediately, was when will the new census data be available? And I think you posted that out, but if you can answer those questions. I think you said March or April is the predicted time frame for that. But thank you again, and we look forward to getting those updates and working with you. And as you mentioned, we can make those slides available. Both the transformation plan, the North Omaha recovery plan, and your presentation will be available on our website, with your permission, later today.
Yes, for sure. Thanks so much.
Thank you. We want to continue now. Obviously, a lot of those trends were interrupted and in some cases reversed in the midst of COVID. We have with us one of our partners, Kenny McMorris from Charles Drew Health Center. We want to move right into that presentation, Kenny. We want to start with health as far as updates and where we are. So just give you a few minutes, Kenny. First of all, CEO of Charles Drew Health Center, been with us every year for the last 15 years. I would love for you to give us an update on what's happening, the impact of COVID, but also what the health partners are doing to address that. Kenny McMorris.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Omaha community. And first, want to give my sincere appreciation to the network and all the partners for being able to maintain this. I think that in order to transform any community, there has to be a consistency and a discipline of moving our collective efforts forward. So congratulations to everyone that's on the call today and all those that are not, that are doing everything they can to make North Omaha and the Black experience, all of us thrive and survive. And so from a Charles Drew perspective, as many of you know, we are one of the 7 federally qualified health centers in the state of Nebraska. And reflecting back earlier this week, we tested our first patient on March 16th of 2020. And as many of you know, this pandemic, this global pandemic, have forced us to look at healthcare completely different for those that have been in this and dedicated their career to this process. And so as of today, we have provided nearly over 23,000 PCR and rapid antigen tests. I know there's been a lot of new progress made in this area, especially with the advent of at-home testing. But we know that testing is one of the important factors in the layering approach that we have to continue to try to mitigate and reduce the spread of this virus in the community. Your health center has also provided nearly over 9,000 vaccines. And so when the vaccines became available through the federal government, Charles Drew and others, from a safety net perspective, were out trying to make sure we got the information to the community in a timely and quick fashion. These things were changing very quickly, daily, weekly, as it relates to what we were learning about the impact of the virus and ultimately the success of the vaccines. And so we've always taken an approach that we would do everything we can to make it available, provide the community information that was relevant to them, and then empower everyone to make the best decision for themselves and their family. But we know that the vaccine is the best tool that we have in the toolbox, along with, again, the testing component, as well as the masking and trying to do everything we can at distance. But we have learned a lot since the beginning of the pandemic, and we'll continue to keep learning more. But it's going to be important for us to get to some sense of a new normal, that we continue to keep working together. There's been collective partnerships from the state to the county. Definitely want to commend the work that's being done by the County Board of Health, all of our health partners. I think the one thing that we've been able to, and why we've been able to make such momentum, is because the coordination and the trust was there initially. Obviously, things don't always come together as we would like, but we stay the course, continue to keep working together, and I'm proud to say that this community is far better because of the collective partnerships and working together. Additionally, I'd like to add that there's another program that was just recently released in terms of the masking. So I said before, we have access to vaccines, we have access to at-home tests, and we have put an order into the federal government to begin providing N95 masks. So there will be more information that we'll be sharing to the community on how we will be distributing those things. We will need you all's help. So everyone that's part of this, as we start to get more details on the supply and our ability to get access to them, we'll be making sure that we'll provide it to the community. One thing I do want to hit on, there's been a lot of talk about the workforce. Many of the healthcare workers, and again, specifically thinking of those that are in our hospital systems, but even for places like Charles Drew, who are safety net providers to the community, we're also feeling a strain. And so I want to say thank you to the community for you all uplifting us. Our staff, and we have roughly about 200 individuals that are employed by Charles Drew, are waking up every day to try to make the impossible possible, but we could not do that without the collective support of the community. I continue to ask for grace. We are trying to continue to figure this thing out as things are occurring, but I can tell you from all of our clinicians, our physicians, all the way down to our front desk staff, we are doing everything we can to make sure that we are trying to keep the community safe, protected, but also still provide the services that we know are so important. This past year, we had the pleasure of serving a little over 13,000 patients, accounting for over 40,000 encounters, and that's across all of our service lines. That includes primary medical care, behavioral health care, dental care, as well as our pharmacy supports. And we did that through 7 active service sites. We are right at this moment in time, as many of you know, the resources that we have in our community, we have not been in a position like this, at least in my lifetime. And so I think it's going to be incumbent upon us that we coordinate in ways at the governmental level, the business level, corporate level, philanthropy, nonprofit, to really figure out and work through what are the things that we need to get North Omaha to thrive. In terms of being a native of this community, I know that we're very resilient. I know that once given the opportunity and access to the resources, that we have the collective capacity to improve the quality of life of individuals in our community. And so through Charles Drew, we're going to take a couple of approaches here. We know that Medicaid expansion through a series of events, we are right in the middle or just begun the process of expanding access to healthcare through having a payer. And so we have staff here at the health center that will walk our community members through the process to get enrolled in one of the 3, at least primary care plans, and then an oral health plan that's available. And basically what that provides is a financial source for individuals that are up to 138% of the federal poverty level, which equates to about $26,000 a year for a family of 4. And while we know having health insurance is not going to be the one thing that's going to drive an individual's change in health, is one of the major things that do create a deterrent for folks seeking healthcare and identifying a healthcare home. So that's going to be really significant for our community, for the community to be able to take advantage of what is put in front of us as it relates to having health insurance. I will leave you with these few notes. As we look at built environment expansion, we tend to separate the different industries as it relates to overall health and wellness. And so it is so important that we look at health as part of the overall environment in terms of economics, housing, education, and entrepreneurship. And I firmly believe that the more that we can kind of coordinate our efforts in this area, the better off that we're going to be in terms of our community thriving. So we'll leave you with this. Health is more than healthcare. So it's going to be important that we're just not talking about the provision of care and building sites and things of that nature, that we're really committed to the workforce, but we're also committed to making sure that those collective areas that improves the quality of life of individuals are coordinated and working together. Health is tied to the distribution of resources. If we learned of anything going through this pandemic, that access to those resources in a timely fashion, in a timely manner, creates an equitable environment and platform for communities to thrive. Racism and institution and systemic racism imposes an added burden. We know, and the research is very clear, that the consistency in chronic racism does create a physical burden and mental burden in the population. And so it's so important that we continue to keep and run through the torch that the Douglas County Board of Health has put forth as it relates to declaring racism a public health crisis. And so it's one step in the right direction there. The choices we make are shaped by the choices we have. Again, equitable distribution of resources will put us in a position to thrive as a community. Social policy is health policy. It is incumbent that all of our elected officials, as well as community leaders, are working together to move in the right direction, to move our community forward. The policies that we set have a direct impact on the quality of life and overall health care and wellness for the community in which we serve. And finally, we all pay the price for poor health. It is so important that we work together and that we do things to help people improve their quality of life. But the thing is that the financial resources that are necessary to do so are only one part of it. And so everyone in our community has an obligation to help support. And so I'll respond to any questions in the chat. Again, I want to thank the Empowerment Network, Willie Barney, and the collective power of my community for the work that we've done over the past year. Continue to stay the course, keep the resiliency.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Thank you and your whole team and all of our health professionals. There's so many partners that are out there doing amazing work in this area. I know there's a question from Lorraine Chang in the chat and maybe some others. So we want to move right into, thank you again, Kenny. Nancy Williams, one of the areas also a huge need even before COVID, but and definitely since access to healthy foods. Nancy Williams, can you provide us an update on the collaborative efforts that are going on and your efforts specifically? Let's welcome back Nancy Williams, CEO, No More Empty Pots.
Thank you, Willie. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to shift to this presentation and see if I can do that. Can you see the screen?
Yes, you are live. We can see it.
Oh, awesome. Can you still see?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to set my timer to make sure I stick to my 5 minutes. And then I'm going to get started. Thanks for all of the information this morning. I'm just going to run through these really quickly and get to the parts that tie in with the information that we've already heard this morning. Thank you to the Empowerment Network and for all of you for being here. So I just want to cover this: what to eat, whole foods, not processed, prebiotics and probiotics. They come naturally. You don't have to get them in a container. Certain foods have prebiotic and probiotic benefits. Think about the health benefits of the foods you eat. Ginger, turmeric, all help with inflammation, which all affects the other illnesses that manifest in our bodies, and the affordability. If you buy it in season, if you buy it in bulk, you can always share with someone else that you trust, and so that you can share in that cost. It makes things a lot more affordable. The barriers to access continue. Income, adverse health conditions, of which our community has even more to deal with the added stress and the conditions that have come with COVID over the past couple of years. The ability, with having the strength, having the mobility to be able to move around and prepare food, as well as consume it, is also a barrier for some folks. Transportation, access, just proximity, how close it is to you, is still in access in many parts of our community. And then now with COVID, the potential for exposure for anyone who's immunocompromised going into a space that may have other people or conditions that pose risk to them, where it may put them into a further state of not being able to access things, but being in an adverse health condition. Where to find it? There are local sources. There are CSAs around during the summer. You have farmers markets and pop-ups, pantries, and food banks now have more fresh produce. Whispering Roots and Together Inc. and Latino Center of the Midlands and Big Garden have been really instrumental in getting food out to communities, along with NCAP. You can grow your own food. If you need support with that, you can reach out and we can help connect you to some sources. The Cooperative Extension is a great support, and they have lots of master gardeners who can help guide you through that. And there are lots more gaps for making sure that we have healthy food close to us. And there are many of us working on those things, but if you have suggestions or if you know you have a need, please reach out, because we're going to ensure that we are supporting more community collaborations so that we can fill those gaps. And a lot of our churches and community organizations over the past couple of years have really stepped up to fill those gaps. But with the change in the climate and the access of funding in the community, there are more possibilities coming into view. So I'm going to give you a quick snapshot of Community Harvest, which is our encompassing food distribution program for No More Empty Pots. In 2021, we transitioned from just contact us, I should say, and in 2020, we went from signing up to you contact us, we get you food. We served over 11,000 people, 50,000 meals, thousands, hundreds, over 100,000 pounds of produce went out into the community. In 2021, because of the shifting in support and where the money was coming from to cover this, we had to go to an income qualification to make sure we had the funds to cover the food that was going out. And we focused more on wellness recovery, especially when people undergoing treatment for like cancer or heart disease or COVID. We decreased the overall number of meals and CSAs that we were served because of that transition, and that there was pandemic EBT, and there was more food being distributed through the food bank, through public school system, through community organizations, through churches. We did do a summer food service this past summer, and we expect to do that again so that we can support families and kids to ensure that they have healthy, wholesome food there. We have seen an increase in seniors requesting fresh produce. Starting in around early fall in that August, September timeframe, we noticed an uptick in seniors requesting support and to get onto the program to get the CSA. They didn't want the meals because they still had mobility, but they did not, because of the cost of things. They said that they couldn't afford the produce that they were getting before. We've done more farm to school training, and we've been recruiting and preparing more BIPOC producers for institutional produce sales by going through a farm to school training. For 2022, we're shifting to a food selection that includes more health and wellness beverages and snacks, because that's how a lot of people consume their calories. And we've had a lot of requests for that. We are updating the options to include more plant-based protein preparations, so that it's not more of your traditional, but think of something like chickpeas that have been processed to taste more like barbecue chicken. And we are adding a branded delivery vehicle thanks to Healthy Blue. We are pairing education, training, and entrepreneurship for that more longer term self-sufficiency that impacts health, the way that Kenny mentioned. Supply chain diversity, we're working on advocacy and policy. And I just want to leave you with, this is how we're pulling all of this together, is a program that we're calling Curiosity to Self-Sufficiency. We're pulling in our community education, our culinary workforce training, and our food entrepreneurship programming to include all of entrepreneurship, but to support a 2-generation model of kids and adults in the households. And then when we're working with those households with this wraparound support with partners, we're also including food as one of those things to help fill that gap for them. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you. And thank you for being here and for what you do in the community.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and to you and your team there at No More Empty Pots, just consistently doing phenomenal work and leading our community forward in access to healthy food. Keep up the great work. Thank you for being with us today and sharing that. And at this time, we're going to continue the conversation you mentioned in your presentation about how our churches and community organizations have really stepped up in order to help meet the needs and fill in the gap with food. So we're going to bring on Pastor Portia Cavett, who is the president of the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance and the senior pastor of Clare Memorial United Methodist Church, to talk a little bit more about the work that she's been doing.
Okay, thank you so much for including me in this time of sharing, because spiritual health is so important, and we recognize that our churches are open and that you can worship, whether in person or through the hybrid model through live streaming. But we also want to make sure that it is known that we do have ministries and social services and programs that we offer unto the church. To the community. So when I'm speaking in terms of the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. Those are churches and pastors that have joined and share as we seek to serve those underserved, especially African Americans in metropolitan Omaha through action, advocacy, and accountability. When we think about that, of course, we have been partnering with Whispering Roots, and at Clare, we are a distribution site on the second and fourth Fridays from 9 a.m. to about 11 a.m., where we distributed the vegetable boxes and other items that they have. Some churches come here to pick up and then distribute them through their building. Also, Clare Cares Food Pantry operates on the third Saturday of every month from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we are partners with the Food Bank of the Heartland, but then also purchase items from other stores, and people bring in donations. We have a 35-plot garden right here at 55th Street and Ames Avenue, and we rent those out some of them out to the public or the community, and then about 15 to 20 plots we plant and harvest and distribute that to the community either through our food pantry or through people just coming, ringing the doorbell. We're trying to ask people not to go and pick on their own because they could damage and stop the growth of the food that is growing in the community garden. Also, we are working with the vaccination clinics through Douglas County Health Department, and we have a clinic here at Clare on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. To 2 p.m. and appointments are encouraged but are not required, so people can come and get their vaccinations, dose 1, 2, and 3, and then of course a booster will be coming out. And so those that are in line for the boosters, we have the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine. What's up on the screen now is that we've worked with Douglas County, and for Black History Month, we have various clinics here in North Omaha. On Saturday, the first and the fourth Saturday will be at Nelson Mandela Elementary School from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and we'll have Pfizer and Moderna. On the second Saturday, which is February the 12th, we'll be at the Urban League from 12 to 3 p.m. And then on the first and the third Saturday, the 5th and the 19th, will be at Girls Inc. from 12 to 3 p.m. And so we encourage people to know where the vaccines are being offered and that they can indeed stop in and be vaccinated. This is sponsored by Douglas County Health Department as well as the IMA. IMA is also looking to partner with United Healthcare. We are hoping to be able to offer mental health first aid as well as setting up some telehealth rooms in the members' churches of IMA so that people who might not have internet and might need to see a doctor but can't get into a clinic, that they can indeed have a telehealth program. You heard about the Heritage Health adult expansion. Since we passed Medicaid expansion, we are trying to make sure that everyone has access to health care. So there is a lot that is going on as the preachers come together and to work. I also want to say that those churches that belong to IMA should be picking up their KN95 masks that they can distribute it out in their communities. I do have some of the masks here at Clare and give them out on Wednesdays, but if you are in need, don't hesitate to ring the doorbell and we will seek to serve you. Want you all to know that God is indeed able and he hears our humble cry, and we are here to serve. Thank you.
I want to say thank you again, Pastor Cabot, and all of the pastors, faith leaders that have been continuing to do amazing work, and especially your work around food, health, and being so available to the community. So we celebrate you and want to say thank you. So thank you for your work, and we look forward to continuing our partnership. We know the work is not done, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
So we've talked a lot about the health piece and also access to healthy food, the movements of the churches and the work they're doing. Let's move right into another huge area that's been impacted by the pandemic and the work that needs to happen in the housing area. I want to bring in Teresa Hunter, who's the CEO of Family Housing Advisory Services, and give her a few minutes to talk specifically about the impact of COVID on housing and what are the solutions moving forward. So if Teresa Hunter is there, if she could please join us.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Okay. Did you have my slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So as everyone knows, COVID is alive and well, and it has been impacting people in their housing, and whether it's home ownership or in their rental as well. So we're really happy to report that last year, we distributed $552,000 to people who were in need of assistance. And we provided 352,000 in match COVID funds to folks and 84,000 for progressive families, which is a program that's a longer term program. In progressive families, it allows people to work toward their housing goals, their goals with their children and their education to help them stay on track. We were also able to distribute 10,000 in Goodfellows holiday assistance and 108 in hardship assistance. So we're excited that we're able to provide those things. In the home ownership area, next slide, please. We were able to serve people and we've distributed $400,000 in mortgage assistance. We're right in the process right now of working toward having some more funds to be able to distribute for renters and mortgages. But we found out that the money that we thought was going to go to mortgages is now going to rental. But let's stay tuned to find out if, what other resources are going to be available. And so we also helped 119 people purchase homes last year. So in the midst of the pandemic, 119 people purchased homes, everybody. And so that was about $10 million worth of home ownership loans. And then 102 of those were veterans or persons with disabilities, and then veterans as well. And the highest zip code served was 68111, whether in home ownership, whether it was with them becoming homeowners or having assistance as well. And then 31,000 was that average amount of income that we were able to help people with. In the fair housing area, we investigated 374 cases for housing discrimination, and we found evidence in 125 cases. That is like 33%. We recovered $341,000 in benefits, and that included $50,000 settlement for a couple. And then we also conducted 33 trainings in Omaha, Lincoln, Fremont, Norfolk, and Kearney. So because of the information and the conciliations and investigations that we did, we were able to change the procedures and the policies for 15 housing providers. So those are multiple units in each one of those. So we're really excited about the work that we're able to do to try to make it better for people in their housing situations. In the tax area, we were able to prepare 3,000 tax returns with 5.7 million in federal refunds and 1.1 million in state refunds, $882,000 in stimulus funds, 738,000 in child tax credits, and our average adjusted income was $26,000. So please do make sure that you are doing your taxes. People had to have them in order to apply for and get the stimulus. So we are available to help people. In our Omaha 100 area, we did 46 closings totaling $4 million. And so that broke down to 29 first mortgages and 17 refinances for people who were having issues during COVID. We were able to refinance their loans. We also did 11 access to assets credit improvement loans. And those were for people who were trying to get themselves prepared for homeownership. And our average household income was $52,000. And so we also distributed 4.2 million in assistance to people, overall. So these are things that we did in, and then the work that we're planning to do for 2022 is to keep distributing those funds. People are in need, and we continue to distribute those financial assistance and for COVID and to counsel people who need it, and then to provide support for the residents to achieve their goals. And then what we're wanting to do too is what we're calling neighbor talks, because whenever there's new development and there are plans to be a lot of it, people are normally concerned about their property taxes going up. And so those are the things that we'll be doing. And then Omaha 100 will be doing some more lending products. Then I just included a couple of slides that have the numbers on it, should you want to go to them afterwards. And then what do you want to do during this crisis? Because at the end of this, we're wanting you to have good luck on your journey. on managing COVID and on coming stronger on the other side. So we have a few things for you to just browse at your convenience. Thank you so much for including us in this, and good luck in your housing goals.
Teresa, thank you for the outstanding work. Family Housing Advisory Services in Omaha 100. That's tremendous in the middle of a pandemic where you have people buying homes and continuing to work, and $4.2 million into the community. So thank you, Teresa, for the work you're doing. We want to, on this path of home ownership, I had the opportunity to meet Nika Johnson actually last year, and then have continued to stay in touch, and the outstanding work she's doing in the community around financial literacy and also making sure that we're encouraging people to purchase homes. So Nika, we want to bring you in, Budget to Success. You launched that organization. Tell us a little bit about the work you're doing in the community and the impact it's having on home ownership.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me, and happy Saturday. Originally, I did put together a presentation, but after praying on it, I just really want to speak for them heart. So for those that do not know who I am Nika Johnson, the owner and founder of a company called Budget to Success. And my goal is to teach the importance of financial literacy, focusing on budgeting, savings, and credit in order to help bridge the economic gap. So ultimately, it's not about how much money you make, but manage the money you do make. I have over 15 years of financial industry experience. In the middle of the pandemic, September of 2020, I fired my boss. At that time, I was licensed to do second mortgages in the state of Nebraska and doing HELOCs, HELoans. And I have always just really encouraged having the uncomfortable conversations around money. When you're in high school, you don't really get to choose a financial literacy course. You got JLTC, because if you want to go to the military, you got home economics, sewing, and all these different courses, even a fake baby, but nothing that prepares you for the real world. How do you balance a checkbook? How do you get a bank account? How do you get your car? Paying attention to contracts and things like that. So in the middle of the pandemic, I fired my boss, that I like to say. Budget to Success was officially registered in 2021, but I honestly been doing this for the last 5.5 years, going on 6 years. I used to meet with people in the community at scooters or at a local coffee shop, and I would sit with them one-on-one up to 2 hours doing a budget. And the reason why I have a 3-component process is because one, budgeting is really talking about, managing your finances. You got to control your money. You don't want it to control you. Where is it going? How much money are you making? Making sure that every dollar is accounted for. And then when it comes to savings, is always make for sure that you pay yourself first. So I don't care. Don't go work a 9 to 5. You don't have nothing left to show over. We 2 years in this world pandemic, and people are literally a check away from poverty, a check away from being homelessness. So we really want to make for sure that we're saving money. That a lot of people in our community is that we want to look like we got money, but we don't want to have it. So I'm an avid truth teller. I am a financial coach, not a financial advisor. I tell people what they need to hear and not what they want to hear. And also by leading by example. And within that is, it took social media on Facebook years ago of just my personal finances. So I was raised in a single parent home with a repeated cycle of teenage pregnancy at the age of 16. So not only is that I have lived experiences and things that I have done myself that I teach people within the community. So I was able to overcome that stigma of that generation curse of teenage pregnancy. I also had just about a full ride scholarship to University of Nebraska, Lincoln, major in business administration, minor communications. I started my career in corporate America and transitioned back into the financial world and took a huge pay cut. And it's because I was passionate, knowing my why and why it's so important, and being that change. I was able to pay off over $40,000 in debt in 2.5 years with a 2-parent household income less than $100,000. I purchased my first home 2 weeks before my 25th birthday, was able to pay off my student loans. How many times people say that they can never pay off student loans? And a lot of that is with their mindset and changing that narrative. So many times we value a college education more than we're actually value and the importance of your credit. Your credit is like that adult GPA. Is going to tell you if you approved or denied for a loan. It's going to tell you if you need a co-signer or not, or what the interest rate. Simply put, bad credit is expensive, but it doesn't have to be a life sentence. So I like to change that narrative to be able to empower the community. So within last year in 2021, no government funded, no grants, no PPP loans, no nothing. Legit, starting from my savings. Last year, I also purchased my childhood home as well. So I do invest into a real estate portfolio. So I lead by example. And that's why the work that I do is so important, because I'm a Black woman from North Omaha that was able to overcome poverty. And what does that look like? So I help people fix their personal credit so they can save money. And today in counting, I help people save over $2.2 million and service over 123 clients in my credit repair company. So I really want to empower homeownership. Less than 50 years ago, people of color was able to have the opportunity to become a homeowner. So I always tell people you either are going to pay somebody else's mortgage or your own. So I really want to make for sure that we're strengthening our relationships surrounding money, identifying those childhood traumas so we can invest into us along as within our community.
Awesome. What an amazing testimony, a powerful testimony. Thank you so much for sharing that and challenging each and every one of us to do better in our offerings. We're proud of you. Thank you for repping your community well, and we look forward to the amazing things that are going to come as you continue to do your work and as I like to say, live each day on purpose.
Yes.
So God bless you. Thank you for the work that you do. Great job, Nika. And what's really important and really valuable about what Nika just shared is that today isn't just about getting information about what has already taken place, but it is equally about the opportunity that we have to be able to do things differently, to be able to get involved, to be able to get engaged in the work. And we want to thank you. Right now, we have over 200 people that are in this Zoom meeting right now. And as you're hearing these updates and hearing this information, what we want to encourage you to do is to make sure that if you're not already engaged in this work in some way, shape, or form, that you find your lane, that you find your place, your spot to be able to get in and to be a part of that work. And so we want you, if you're looking at how to get connected, I've just dropped a link in the chat to a Google form that will give you the opportunity to identify which one of these areas that we're talking about today through the state of North Omaha and the state of African Americans, which of these areas you want to do some work in, you want to partner in, you want to put your hands to the plow and help us to move forward. So if you're looking at an opportunity to be able to get engaged in this work, complete that form, and one of our team members will get in contact with you over this next week about the next opportunity to be able to engage in that work. So thank you again, everyone, for being here today. We are just getting started. We've got so much more. And Willie, we'll kick it back over to you to take us into our next segment.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you, Nika. Amazing. We look forward to continuing our work together with you and supporting your work. We want to continue now into our next transition. Chief Todd Smotter, police chief for the city of Omaha, has been a partner, I think, going back 10, 11 years. I want to give an update on what's happening around violence prevention, the collaborative work that we've been doing together, and want to welcome you, Chief Todd Smotter.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm presenting from the mayor's office. I'm with the mayor, Chief of Staff Thomas Warren, and the rest of some of her staff here today. So good morning. I want to go over some policing and crime numbers up year to date, and then also a backwards comparison to see what progress we've made and see where we want to go from here. So the first slide will cover shootings. I like to cover shootings for the reason of it's a representative sample. You have more of them than homicides, so they're a pretty good indicator. Sometimes our citywide homicide numbers for a year can ebb or flow based on one or two instances, but shootings give us a pretty good indicator of where we go from a city. As you can see, the downward dip of 16, 17, 18, and 19, and then you see the pandemic year, and then 2021 coming out of that pandemic year. Next slide. And as we go through these slides, there's going to be some highlights and there's going to be some lowlights, and we'll touch on both of those. These are the number of citywide gun seizures that we see in our city. As you can see, in 2021, we had our highest number of gun seizures going back on record here that we've ever had. Not so much from a political standpoint, but from a law enforcement standpoint, this is of concern to us. A lot more guns on the streets being seized by the Omaha Police Department. Next slide. This is an area of concern. This is one of our lowlights that we need to touch on. This is the blue box is juveniles age 14 to 19. And then the orange is 20 to 21-year-olds. As you can see, in 2016, we had 2. And in 2021, we had our highest number in quite some time of juveniles murdered in our city. We did anticipate an increase of this coming out of the pandemic year. A lot of that has to do with services and school and things not being fully ramped up, and we knew it would impact our juveniles the most, and it did. Now it's imperative to us to see if we can reverse this trend. Next slide. This is citywide homicide data. So we've got some highlights here that I want to go over. This is a relatively good slide for us statistically, and also, excuse me, these statistics highlight our work as well. You can see where we're at in 2011, 12, and 13. We start to make a move downward. We had a spike up in 15. And then in 2020, we came off our lowest years ever. 16, 17, 18, and 19, those were the 4 lowest years collectively that we've had going back 25 or so years within the city of Omaha. Pandemic year, we shot up to 37. And then now the year after that, 2021, we're down to 32. The highlight about this piece is Omaha is one of the few major cities in the country to reverse the homicide trend coming out of the pandemic year. The only other 2 cities were Des Moines and Dallas. Every other major city continue to see an increase. So this is a strong indicator that we're starting to get back to our baseline. Our goal is to get back to the 2018, 2019 levels. Next slide. Homicide clearance rates is an important indicator for me because our clearance rates are a direct reflection of how well the police and the community are working together. So often our crimes, especially when you deal with homicides and shootings, witnesses are imperative. And if you don't have anybody coming forward, you're not going to be able to solve these crimes. Very high clearance rates for the Omaha Police Department. Very proud of that. I attribute that to our partnerships. Next slide. And I throw this one in. This is just Omaha's homicide rate per capita. We continue to grow. So sometimes when we compare our homicides to 2010 to 2000, it does not reflect the population change. So as we factor in the population of the city, the homicide rate for Omaha continues to look better. And next slide. I include this slide because it shows a synopsis of the complaints that we receive within the Omaha Police Department. The blue bar is citizen complaints. That is the number of citizens that have come down, filed a complaint with the Omaha Police Department. The orange one is also important. That's internal investigations. That's investigations started from command officers that are authorized within the Omaha Police Department. That's important. Make sure that our commanders are doing what they're supposed to do. But also that orange bar will reflect communication that I have directly with citizens in which I'll authorize an internal investigation, or through our community partners such as the Urban League, the NAACP, Empowerment Network 360, the ACLU. Sometimes all these entities, along with our elected officials, will bring complaints directly to me. If I authorize an internal investigation, that'll show up on that orange bar. So as far as citizen complaints, from the number of citizens coming down to file, represents our lowest year in a long time. And then also internal investigations represent a pretty good trend line as well. So I'm going to be around, be happy to look at all your chats and see how I can respond to those. Willie, thank you.
There we go. Thank you, Chief, and thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mayor, and the whole cabinet that's here. We appreciate that. And again, Chief Smarter is available in the chat to be able to respond to questions that you may have. And I want to recognize all of the partners with Omaha 360 and all of those that are involved in violence prevention and violence intervention efforts around the city that are contributing to this. And as he said, as I look at data across the country, it's pretty staggering to see what's happening in some of the major cities. So we know that there's more work to be done, and we're rolling up our sleeves and keeping it moving. So we've heard on the health side, healthy families, access to healthy foods, what the faith community is doing, getting into housing, violence prevention. The area also that's been obviously impacted is education. So we have Dr. Cheryl Logan, I believe, is here with us this morning. She's the superintendent of Omaha Public Schools and has been with us the last 3 or 4 years to provide an update on what's happening around education. So Dr. Logan, if you're there, we'll definitely want to bring you up. First of all, welcome back to the state of North Omaha. If you could give us an update around education and where we go from here.
Good morning, everybody. And I'm in my kitchen. I know, Willie, you know, I never miss my workout or anything. So I'm just coming back from that. So good morning, everybody. And it's good to see you all. This morning, I kind of just want to give an update of some of the supports that we have put in place to support our children and our families, and will continue with those supports as we move forward through this period, this surge period, which we hope will be is plateauing and hopefully will start to decrease soon. We are seeing a little bit of hope in our numbers, so hopefully that trend will continue. The first one is that to support our families in North and actually and South Omaha, we did open a testing site, 2 testing sites. One is at the 30th and Ames at the Mills building, and the other is at the new Forest Station Elementary School on Fort Crook Road in South Omaha. So we saw a huge need. I will tell you it was and continues to be a big lift. You have to find a partner, you have to find people to work, which we all know is very difficult. We wanted to find spaces where there weren't children or other persons, so that you know, we could have a safe space in which to work. So I have to thank our team for doing that. Anything that is done well, and when we go far, we do it together as a team. You also may know that the entire school district has been awarded the community eligibility provision. So that means that for the next 4 years, to include this one, and I have to tell you, I'm a little bit salty that they included this year, because actually everybody in the country is benefiting from this year. We'll have a free lunch and free breakfast. There's no application that needs to be done. We that will go through the 23, 24, 20 through 2025. So very excited for our young people. We did a multiplication. I think it's 51 million meals that'll be served between this time and that time. Our school district continues to grow. And I want to just bring something to your attention, because you may not be aware, in that, as we all know, we are receiving refugees from Afghanistan, and they are settling in North Omaha, many. So I was at King Elementary School on Monday, and I met some young people there. And that, as we know, there are many emerging demographics in North Omaha. Our Karen population continues to grow to 40 to 50% of some of our schools. And that is a piece of the emerging demographics, as well as our generational African Americans who have been there for a long time, and our Somali community as well. As you know as well, we've supported with vaccine information clinics. And so last Saturday, we were pleased to welcome Dr. Salahidin from Children's Hospital to come and give a talk in Arabic to our Somali community. And although Somalis have a different language, many do speak Arabic, and there is a common faith. And so we've learned that the common faith has helped. And we had Douglas County Health Department on site as soon as they got the information, to make sure they could get their vaccines. Their children were present as well. So we continue to do work around that to make sure that we can focus on our health and safety for our community as well. Many of you have heard about our Academies and Pathways programs that will expand to include all students, and the expectation for all students from all schools to be afforded the opportunity, and I think I'm going to say that again, be afforded the opportunity and have the expectation that when they leave high school, they have skills and disposition and a plan for what they're going to do next. They may not decide to become nurses, but many will have a CNA if they're in that program. And there are many other programs that we have, farm tech, as well as many in engineering as well as aviation and those kinds of programs that we are increasing. Northwest High School will become an early college starting in the 23-24 school year. So next year, when young people are applying, there will be an opportunity for a 4-year program where students start in the 9th grade and will receive their associate's degree through a 4-year middle college program at Northwest High School. I kind of want to end with talking about, because I saw that this was really important, some specific things that we're doing in North Omaha. We do have 3 turnaround schools. Those schools have first all received an opportunity to improve the physical plant of the school. We knowing that one of the foundational things for our young people and for turnaround is that spaces look nice and they are warm and inviting. And so that has happened at Belvedere and at Fontanelle and at Minnelusa. In addition, and more important, we have added what is considered the gold standard in reading instruction. We've added reading recovery. One school has 2 teachers, and I can't remember which one, so a tribute to my head, not my heart, that students in reading recovery receive one-on-one reading instruction. And the goal is to make sure that none of them leave 1st grade without being on grade level, because we realize that that's a fulcrum to and has a direct correlation with 3rd grade reading instruction, which has a correlation with many other outcomes, some of which we are very familiar with. Where you can help us. We need staff like everybody else. We need staff in every sector, but specifically we put out an RFP for tutoring, and we're very unhappy with what we got, so we rejected it. And so we're going back to the drawing board to make sure that we have the tutors that we need and students can engage in tutoring all over the district. And the issue is that we have some schools where we have volunteers around tutoring and some where we don't. And as you can imagine, that leads to some inequities in terms of some children having opportunities who need them less, and many children in some of our schools, especially in North Omaha, is where we need to make sure we have every child being able to have tutoring available. We have, and I see Ms. McKisson on the phone, we have made a formal request with the Council of Great City Schools and the participating districts, which represent all of the large urban districts in the United States, for an extension on monies, because we realize, first of all, this is going to take a long time, and the condensed nature of having to spend can lead to some unwise spending. And so we are asking for some additional time in that. Lastly, I will share that the early literacy focus is the most important thing that we are doing. And that is the most important work that we are doing, and are very excited about the opportunities. If you have a young person, they have some work they should be doing at home on their iPad through iRead or Amira to make sure they can practice their reading skills and share that with their parents. Even the lowly superintendent checks that every week to see where kids are practicing and how kids are improving. So those are some of the things that we have on the hopper. We have a lot of things on the hopper, I have to tell you, and I am really excited to continue to serve the children and families of the Omaha Public Schools. If you see my Twitter feed, I substitute teach one day a month, and I don't tell anybody where I'm going, and they're sworn to secrecy. But yesterday I was at Miller Park in a 2nd grade class. It was Miss McGee's 2nd grade class. And woo, those children, and we had a great time. But I will tell you, they made me take out my teaching chops And there's a picture of 3 little girls that just stole my heart. And that's why we do it, to make sure that they can read well, because reading, we know, unlocks everything else in terms of young people's education. And lastly, Ms. Johnson, I think it's Ms. Johnson, financial literacy is now a required course. So it's good to see you on here, and I'm gonna figure out a way to connect with you to make sure that you become a regular guest speaker if you are not already connected, because your experience moved me to get a little weepy this morning as I saw you elevate not just yourself, but the trajectory of your entire family. So congratulations to you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you so much, Dr. Logan, for your work, and all of our teachers, educators, everybody involved in the school system, parents, students. We know having a daughter in school and being a parent, that this has been an incredibly challenging time, but we appreciate the leadership of everybody pushing through, working collectively. And so thank you, Dr. Logan. And we're going to continue in this area of education and employment, but I know there's been a question or two about the sense of urgency around there's progress being made. And has been presented by David and Chief Smarter and others. There are also trends that we need to directly continue to address together. And the only way we get it done is together. So we don't run away from, as Chief Smarter said, there are some statistics that are not good, that increase in the number of our youth in our community that have lost their lives because of violence. Nobody is happy with that. So there will be continuous work. I know Chief Smarter and others will respond in the chat as far as additional work that's being done, but it's going to take every single one of us. It's not a responsibility of any individual or one organization, but it's all of us together. So we really appreciate the updates and the work that everybody is putting into this with a sense of urgency to move our community forward and continue to address those issues that come up. Thank you so much again, Dr. Logan. Let's continue on. I think we have Randy Smazel from Metropolitan Community College, who is a huge partner both on the education and the employment side. So let's hear from Randy about what's happening at MCC and how you're helping us to address those issues of unemployment, underemployment, and education in our community. Randy Smazel, president of MCC.
Thank you, Willie. Today I'm on the road, so I'm not in the home office there at the Fort Omaha campus. It's always a pleasure to be part of this group. We've come so far over the years together. I have Tim Clark with me today, one of our community relations workers in the community. Most of you probably know Tim, and so he's going to get into some real-time statistics, but quickly up front, I wanted to say thank you to everyone. You know, Metro's been hosting a testing site and a vaccination site at its Fort Omaha campus since the get-go. And as Dr. Logan said, it is a heavy lift, even for us. We don't run it, but I think it's a tough go at times with classes going on and the number of cars, and just we got to do a better job on testing in the community, but that's not any of our faults. That's other people that step forward. So I put that pitch out there. We've been working with Dr. Logan over the last years since she's been here. And I got to say, in the last couple of years, things have really come together for OPS and Metro Community College in support of their academies and their Pathways program. Metro has a Path Forward program for our students. So in working with OPS, it's not a matter of trying to recruit every student from OPS to come to Metro. It's a matter of helping and being a good partner to make the difference where we can make the difference at Metro. And one of the things we're doing is we're working with Dr. Logan and her staff on the math readiness program. The really good things are happening there that you're going to see, and it'll make a difference. We're also working with academies with her and the staff. And so Metro's going to be there to do what Metro has to do to fill the gaps and make the system that they're initiating successful. And so in that regards, Metro's been working with the legislature on dual enrollment, which means you're a high school student that also can attend Metro Community College. And one of the barriers that existed was tuition. And we've all done our best to get private money and Metro discount tuition, and the school district's foundations happen. But for the last 2 years, we've been pitching to the legislature, you need to do your job statewide, not just in Omaha, but statewide, in covering tuition for high school students to go to community colleges while they're in high school. And I'm pretty optimistic. I think that we got a good plan. There'll be a legislative bill coming forward here in the next couple of weeks for a hearing that is going to be 5 million on top of the 3 million we already have annually for tuition to be paid for at about the 75% level for the state of Nebraska, by the state of Nebraska. And then Metro will take care of the other 25%. So that would mean every student in the Omaha Public School District that wants to go and have college classes and support classes during high school can get it done free of charge. No barrier for that. And we're very proud of that and got to make that work. And so I'd like to also give a shout out to the federal money that Metro received. Our goal, as usual, is to get that money to those that need it. And that's our students and the community. And we did a good job of supporting our past, present, and future students with pushing out the federal dollars so they could continue. And Tim's going to get into that. So I'm going to stop with that right now, Willie. And I just wanted to make sure that I have never missed one of these. So I didn't want to miss this one today, even though it's virtual and I like to see everybody in face to face. So Tim, it's all yours.
And thanks a lot, Randy. I appreciate it. And also, Willie, to your team, hats off for 15. Anybody can stay in something in terms of 15 years, you're most definitely to be commended. But as you can see, as we look back to look forward, you can see there in terms of exactly what Randy was talking about. Our goal and our emphasis was very intentional to really get the money to the students. And as you can see, 11.5 million went directly to students, and an average that's about 5,144 students with $2,241. And it goes on in terms of just over 300,000 with mobile internet hotspots provided, laptop leading programs, and 170. This was really unique in terms of just whole thing that called Pathfinders scholarships. So we had 170 students, and what we did there was with students that are undecided in terms of their path, that we know statistically that if you come to upper higher education and you're undecided, the chances of you completing that goal, it lessens. And so what these dollars did is put wraparound extra support around students that are undeclared in terms of their pursuit of higher education. Also, we reacted in terms of just with the pandemic, over 1,656 high school students. We basically provided free tuition, books, and fees for students to be able to continue in terms of their academic achievement. Let's go ahead and move on. When you look at our workforce area, and this is what I look at as the game changer. We serve over 3,245 students. 53% were from North Omaha through an array of short-term training programs. You're moving from there. We had additional 3,271 unemployed and underemployed as part of the state's workforce retraining initiative. Worked with over 320 businesses and partners to secure employment opportunities. And as you look at really where we're at and where we're going, is this total alignment with industry that we all know that's participating on this summit, that industry has forced us into a skill-based society. And so the programs that you'll see us continue to lift and lift up is things that really have a direct impact and lead to jobs. You can see, additionally, we had new programs. We added a IT skill up and certification program that really is going on right now. We're at the Ashton building as a short-term certification program. And these short-term certification programs, when you think about the impact from financially, how you can change someone's life, on an average, you're talking about $40,000 of salary that one can obtain in terms of short term. As we look at, our what we call our 180, this is focusing on our reentry assistance program. We moved into a new building, and so we moved into building 8, doubling the size. And so with that building, what you're seeing is we were able to do more. And so food pantry, clothing pantry, we have a computer space there for computer assistant, career exploration, all those kind of things. But you can see the numbers there. Over 1,603 students use the center, and then about 1,364 found gainful employment. Where we're at is not about starting. Completion is important, but placement is our end game. You can move on. And so this is kind of dear to my heart. We all know the legendary Heisman Trophy winner, Johnny the Jet Rodgers. What's dear to him, back in the day, Dr. Logan and folks that are part of Omaha Public Schools, technical high school. And one of the things that they were noted for was technical trades. You left school with some type of skill, like electrical skill, automotive skill, and I'm telling you, this is the heart and soul of Johnny Rodgers and why he decided to partner with Metro to stand up a scholarship initiative that have given over the years millions of dollars. This is a look at the cohort in which we're serving now. As you can see, in terms of, this is not just for traditional students, this is non-traditional. 26.8% of those students are that's the average age. We have 158 students receiving the funding. This is tuition, fees, and books. You can see the academic focus in the areas there. And this is really keeps up and match with some of our high demand, high skill, and high wage jobs. Now, as we're looking ahead, one of the things, and COVID-19 has caused all of us to pivot, to really, if we had a innovative or creative, creativity challenge, it's in front of us now. And so one of the things we launched last year is what we're calling Youth Forward. And this is a holistic future-focused programming on system-involved youth. And that's where we have to, our job there is to stop them from moving into a 180 program in terms of a reentry program. And that's this intervention program. And so we have someone that's waking up every day. Jermaine Ballard is joined our team and is waking up every day. And I want to thank OPS because that's a meaningful partner. We're focusing at our proof of concept, focusing on Blackburn and Benson High School in terms of proof of concept. One of the other areas in terms of just looking forward and how do we really begin to help with things that's happening in North Omaha. we have this fall, we will open up a digital express. So we've taken building 10, we're going to transform that. It's kind of like a do space 72nd, but it's going to be community focused, user friendly, and that's going to be able to, the community will have a place they could come to in terms of with their devices, technical assistance, classes, workshops. How do we begin to lessen the digital divide? And that's going to be the focus point of that initiative. As we look at in terms of just the connect with us, we cannot. And most folks on this phone call, in terms of, it's one of the things Johnny always say, if it's not big enough where it causes you to pull together a community or individual to help you, it's not big enough. So we cannot do this by ourselves. You have in front of you our workforce training contact information, our 180 reentry program, and then high school programming, where we have the dual enrollment, our gateway to college programs. And then the last is our MCC enrollment information there. I do want to say, as I close, that we give away over $3 million annually of scholarships. And so I didn't put that on that last slide, but that is mccneb.edu/scholarships. To get in the game, you have to apply. You have to at least apply. So partners, what we would need for you to do is help us as we continue to do our part. We cannot do it by ourselves. We need the community to help these students navigate from start, support to the finish line to job placement. Thank you so much, Willie.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's huge. A few more minutes because of where we are right now. We've been talking a lot about skilling up, and there are opportunities, there are open jobs around the city, around the state, but we need opportunities to skill up in these areas that you just described. So we appreciate that. And we want to transition right over to Wayne Brown, who is another long-term partner in this area of employment and skilling up and waging up in our community. Wayne Brown, the interim CEO at the Urban League, please give us a few minutes around what's happening at the Urban League that can help us close this employment gap and address these needs in our community. Wayne Brown.
Thank you, Willie, and thank you, Jonathan, for pulling the community together around this and the partnerships around the community with Dr. Logan and OPS, Randy Schmagel and Tim Clark around training, and the Urban League team, young professionals, the guild, the board. This is a movement, y'all, and we have to work together in order to move this ball forward. As far as the Urban League of Nebraska, we've served the North Omaha community for over 90 years. And we've served in the areas of policy, programs, and advocacy. And so I'm really going to talk about today about closing that gap with employment. At the Urban League of Nebraska, we see employment as a basic need. And as the great Nelson Mandela once said, is overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity, it's a gesture of justice. Not a gesture of charity, but a gesture of justice. So we take employment very seriously. At the Urban League in the year 2021, we served over 17,930 direct services in the area of employment and career services through our career boot camp, our step-up programs, and our family services front desk. 268 of those individuals received the direct coaching, 62 through our career boot camp program, with about an 80% employment rate come out of that and a 65% retention rate after 1 year. And then we served 206 students in the Step Up program in combination with the Empowerment Network, making sure they're coached to have summer jobs during that time when young folks need to make a little bit of money and have something to do. But here's the thing. I've met with employers across the city, and they have communicated to me with some barriers. And so we're working with other community partners in North Omaha and Metro around non-degree skills training and certificates, talking about employers providing training on the job. And so the thing is, like no time before the pandemic, with an unemployment rate so low in the rest of the community, and an unemployment rate that's kind of double that for African Americans, the goal is to try to move folks past those barriers. And that's transportation, that's skill certification, that's system navigation. And so that's where the boot camp comes in. The boot camp tries to make sure that folks can get past that interview component, trying to get through that system of algorithms in order to get the interview, and then also to make sure that resume looks good and can make it through. So I won't take a lot of time today because that boot camp is the most important thing that people can go through in order to make that jump. And the next class is February 7th to February 25th. It runs from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We provide a cash incentive as you go through the program. It runs about 3 weeks. And what we do is try to develop that employment plan so that you can make it to that next level. And again, we could not do that without the help of the rest of the community partners and training. So, you know, Whitney M. Young, who used to be the CEO of the Urban League of Nebraska, who went on to run the National Urban League during the 60s. During the 1964 Civil Rights Act, 1965 Voting Rights Act, we used to say that it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and never get one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So thank you, Willie, for bringing us together. And that's what we have for the Urban League around employment. I will put how to connect with the boot camp in the chat so that you can sign up for that at your convenience.
Wayne, thank you again. Thank you for the partnership at the Urban League, and we look forward to, thank you for posting information on the chat, being available for any questions. Thank you for the boot camp and the partnership on Step Up Omaha. I didn't mention that earlier, but on the youth side, we partner with many organizations. Want to definitely say hello to John Jackson, our new Step Up Omaha director. That just want to welcome him. And then also want to just highlight now as we begin to transition into the next phase. We talked about employment, and I would like to bring in Candace Price to give us an understanding of what's happening around the entrepreneurship space. And then we're going to move right into hearing from our elected officials around the transformation plan, the North Omaha Recovery Plan, and other components. And so let's please pause for a moment. I'd like to bring in Candace Price. She's an entrepreneur. She owns several businesses, serial entrepreneur, but want to help understand what resources are out here for small businesses. A lot of them have been impacted pretty dramatically during the pandemic. But tell us about what's happening in the space of entrepreneurship.
Thank you so much, Willie. I appreciate being asked to be on this morning and speak with so many during such an important piece that we're talking about, and that's just moving North Omaha and the state of African Americans forward. So I am Candace Price, and I'm going to speak with you this morning through the lens of the Grow Nebraska Women's Business Center. If you give me just one moment, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Willie, if you would just let me know once you are able to see my screen.
See you now.
Wonderful. So the Grow Nebraska Women's Business Center is under the umbrella of the U.S. Small Business Administration. So they help fund the program. Women's business centers have existed in the United States for more than 30 years. And last January, Omaha received one, which is the GNWBC. And our partner in that is Grow Nebraska, the foundation that's out of Kearney. The reason I'm speaking with you through this lens is because it helps to focus on entrepreneurship. And I want to just tell you a little bit about what we do, how we help, and who our partners are. And it's our partners that make things so great for everyone around us to help. I'm currently the executive director of the WBC. BC Clark serves as the director of programming, and Eden Butler is our client coordinator. So our vision through the GNWBC is to be the greatest champion of women entrepreneurs in the Midwest. So we're not just focused on Omaha. We'd like our impact to have a greater reach. Changing the business landscape through training, advocacy, assistance with access to capital, and overall economic development of women-owned enterprises. I like to share our vision, but also in turn caveat that to say that we don't just help women. We help anyone who's in business or looking to be in business. So if you have a brother, an uncle, your dad, your granddad who wants to be in business or is in business and is looking for different ways to scale or grow, please send them our way to assist. So Willie did ask me to share some of the numbers of the businesses that we've worked with since we got started. So our grand opening was in May, and what I'm going to talk about is just our last quarter. So with the SBA, the year end is a little different. So our year end was the end of September. Our first quarter was October through December. So in our first quarter, though we had only really had our doors open for about 5 or 6 months, we were able to serve 75 unique clients. That means one-on-one counseling sessions, and 287 business owners participated in our trainings and our in-person events. Now, this is without spending one penny on marketing or advertising. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the need is there and the need is significant. What it also tells us is that we have some great partners. And so through this is an image from our grand opening and some of our partners that we have. So you see members of the Chamber of Commerce that are on here. Also Keith Station with the city. The city of Omaha is a great supporter of our organization. And without these partners, we couldn't do what we do. So we are a member of the Greater Omaha Chamber. We're also a member of the Hispanic Chamber as well as the Midlands African Chamber. And we are a member, though there's not actual memberships, of the Empowerment Network. We support what they do, they support what we do, and it's how we've been able to make the change that we have in such a short amount of time. We are also direct partners with the Metro Omaha Women's Business Center, the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. We work with SCORE, the SBA District Office directly, and the Department of Economic Development. Here's just another one of our partners to show here, which is U.S. State Senator Deb Fisher, of course, with Willie and Aisha from the Empowerment Network, just showing how we were able to get started and get going was also with her help and assistance. Right here is a photo of one of our events that we do. Monthly, we hold a business breakfast forum. We have a speaker in, we teach, we learn, we laugh, we talk about some of our needs with one another, and we'd like to invite you all out to that. Here's another picture here with Karen Watson, who is a tremendous business owner in our area, as well as in a few other states. And so this is one of our most recent breakfasts that was held actually in the Village Empowerment Center on the campus of the Omaha Home for Boys, which is where our office is located. Now, one of the things that we do, as I spoke about, our unique clients served. The SBA uses that term, and what that means is we've had one-on-one counseling sessions or intake sessions with the individual to find out what they do, who they are, how we can help. So we help the whole person. We don't just look at the business. And so we believe and know that the person has to typically grow and scale for their business to grow and scale. And so that's where we start. We just want to ensure that the person is bankable. Is their credit in order? Do you have your business banking relationship? And if not, how can we help to get that going for you? Are you using QuickBooks or another reliable system for knowing and tracking your numbers? We find that that's oftentimes an issue, especially within our community when it comes to starting and growing business. And we also help them get involved in the community. I want to share with you right here a young lady who came in for a counseling session for her business. This is Chelsea. When you see her, I want you to congratulate her for a number of reasons. One, she has started and is beginning to grow her business. But two, when she came in the office, we also ended up talking about and finding another need that was there, an opportunity. And so I love to share success stories of the office so that people know what all we're doing and how we're involved. And so Chelsea, we found out, had left school 5 years ago from the University of Nebraska, Omaha, with only a couple hours left for her degree, for her to finish her degree, her bachelor's. So we were able to partner her with another client, take care of any needs that were there. She started back school in January, so just earlier this month. And we are so excited to get ready to celebrate with her in May, her receiving her bachelor's degree. So at the GNWBC, we help in many other ways than just business so that you can focus on your business. We also help with volunteerism and community service. We've most recently worked with the Douglas County Diversion Program to bring some people into our office as well as to one of our clients' businesses to assist. And one of the main things we want to share is your resources. Make sure that you know what your resources are. Most of these resources listed here is just a small portion and they're free. So Nebraska Business Development Center, if you're looking to grow. And we always say that it's important to go ahead and start and have what you have going on. Starting a business when you have a job is not always about if you decide to quit or leave, as Nika was able to do, which is absolutely phenomenal, but it's also if your 9-to-5 decides to leave you. And so we want to help in that for you. And I also just want to share some of our upcoming programming as we get ready to move into Black History Month. We are partnering with MOWBC and the Nebraska Black Women United to honor Black women in business. So we will be celebrating 8 women business owners throughout the month of February in a video series. We hope that you log in to see that. Here's our contact information. And I just want to end really quickly with this video so you can see where we're located, what we do. It's very brief. Turning around behind you, taking a look at this purple trailer here. Dante Mobile Nail Bar. We definitely couldn't do today without highlighting a local woman business. And Serena, she is the owner of the fabulous business. And so that is what we're looking to support. We're looking to support those who are innovative, who are courageous, who are brave, who say, yes, I'm a parent, yes, I'm a wife, but yes, I can also do this as well. And yes, I can add this to my plate and succeed. Okay, and lastly, I'm just going to share with you all an announcement. I'm just a little bit ahead of the press release, but I'm very excited. So I do want to let you guys know you saw Eden Butler, who was our client coordinator, and we were in the midst of a transition. As Willie mentioned, I am the owner of a couple of businesses here in Omaha, and I've been in this role full time for a little over a year, and I am now transitioning out of the role. And Eden Butler will be transitioning into the role of executive director. I'll still be with the organization, just working and helping part-time. So if you guys need me, you can still definitely reach me through there or through the other companies. But when you see Eden, please congratulate her, and that'll take place in the middle of next month. Willie, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm happy to help and serve in any way that I can.
Thank you so much, Candace. Thank you for your amazing work. We're honored to have you as an entrepreneur in the city, and we thank you for getting the Grow Nebraska set up, and we're excited to work with Eden as well. And as you mentioned, there are so many different resources now available. We'll post it on the empoweromaha.com website, but we have now a pathway for entrepreneurship that we've established in North Omaha, from idea phase to business plan development, and so many different partners that are available now. And we are now pushing forward, working with the city, county, and state to increase the revenue opportunities and income and funding available through access to credit and capital. So we appreciate you, Candace. We're going to transition now right into where we're headed with the city, county, and state. Last year at this time, we presented the transformation plan. Again, it will be on our empoweromaha.com website. It is a comprehensive plan that uses all of the information that we've worked on for the last 15 years and presented to the city, the county, and the state a budget, a recommended budget to help us accelerate the pace, address the issues that are in our community, but also build on the work, the evidence-based work, successes that we've had. How do we really take this to scale? And so we're going to bring in some of our elected officials to hear from them as far as what's happened in 21 and where they're headed in 22. And we've asked each of them to specifically talk about what investments they can make to move North Omaha forward, especially taking this investment to scale. So with that, I believe we have Mayor Jean Stothert with us. She's been with us every single state of North Omaha since she's been in office. We appreciate the work they put into preparing an update around what has been accomplished, where we headed in 22, and what can we do to drive the progress in North Omaha with increasing investments, especially using ARPA funds. So welcome, Mayor Jean Stothert.
Morning, Willie, and good morning, everybody. I think we all wish we were all in person, and hopefully next year we'll get back to that. But I wanted to let you know I'm here today with my Chief of Staff, Tom Warren is here, Keith Station is here this morning, Dave Fanslaw, Carrie Murphy, and Dr. Franklin Thompson. Chief Schmatter just had to step out, so it's good to be with you. Carrie said you limited me to 10 minutes, Willie, and there's so much to talk about. So I picked a few things that I thought were of great interest that are really happening now. But in a word, I will say the state of North Omaha for 2022, as we look forward, is about opportunity. We have opportunity to provide impactful and long-term improvements for those who live and work there. I want to first update you on the city's plans for the American Rescue Plan Act, or the ARPA funds. I think everybody is quite interested in that. And this money allows us to address significant needs in our city. The primary use of the ARPA funds, the federal funds, are intended for local governments to replace revenue loss. That's the primary purpose. And if you remember with the CARES Act in 2020, it did not cover city revenue losses, but ARPA funding does. And that's the primary reason that the federal funds are available. But this money can also be used to support community programs, respond to pandemic impacts, and to promote economic recovery. So that's where we will make our largest investments. We have received already in May $56 million. We're supposed to receive $112 million total and should receive the other $56 million in May of 22. With a portion of the money already in the bank, and we're not spending money until it's in the bank, but we are committing $15 million of the 56 we already have to community programs. I have to comment on this, though, because this is the largest amount of grant money the city has ever awarded to nonprofit organizations. So this is really, really, really important for the city. After the city council approves the contracts on Tuesday, the United Way of the Midlands and Omaha Community Foundation are going to be working together to distribute these funds to qualifying nonprofit organizations. Our focus is on agencies that are located in or providing services in qualified census tracts. So we will deliver services directly to communities most impacted by the pandemic. United Way will administer $5 million in categories that address basic needs. So these are things like access to food and shelter, services to people experiencing homelessness, access to healthcare, behavioral and mental health services, health promotion and education, financial literacy, and family support. So that's the categories that this $5 million that United Way of the Midlands are going to be administering. Then Omaha Community Foundation is going to administer $10 million in categories that include workforce development and violence prevention and intervention. Eligible programs could include, for this category, youth programs such as mentoring, gang prevention intervention, mental health, crisis response, and assistance to unemployed workers, including workforce readiness training, certification, and employment services. So the one thing that I do want to stress is the guidelines are set by the Department of Treasury. They're complex and they have changed several times, and the city has hired Deloitte to help us to make sure that we are following the law and following the guidelines as we try to get this money out as fast as we can to the community where it's needed the most. The applications will be open in February for the United Way and for Omaha Community Foundation. Both agencies have strong communication plans in place to notify applicants of opportunity and to provide technical assistance. So already more than 160 organizations have signed up for webinars. So we know that there is a lot of need and a lot of interest and that we could provide a lot of help. We anticipate that these grant awards will be made by early summer. So as quick as we can and give a time period for people to apply, for them to review, and then to get it out, like I said, into the public as soon as we can. We've also created a program to assist our hotel industry so that our tourism, entertainment, and event sector can rebound. This is a $7 million program that will be managed by our finance department within the city. And this is important because estimates show that the hotel industry will not fully rebound until about 2024 or 2025. And this is a really important job market in Omaha. So we need to help this industry and bring the jobs back that were lost along with the industry when COVID hit. Once we receive the remaining money from the Treasury, and again, that should be May of 2022, we will have additional announcements. We plan to make the largest allocation to affordable housing, working with a consortium of organizations. The city's money will be matched by a donor, so we can have a big impact as far as affordable housing goes. We will also make improvements to public spaces, again, focusing on neighborhoods and qualified census tracts in North and South Omaha. Douglas County is receiving approximately $111 million in ARPA funds. So we are coordinating our plans with them to provide a wide and diverse scope of assistance. So we're coordinating to make sure we don't have any overlap or duplication. Senator Wayne, I know he's on the call today or on the Zoom today, but we have talked about his North Omaha recovery plan, and we will work together to be sure that the state and local ARPA funds are spent on the greatest area of need. Information about our programs is easy to find on our city website, cityofomaha.org, and look for the link on our homepage in the blue box. And it tells everything about what the city is doing as far as ARPA, what our priorities are, the different areas. You can get a lot of information on that, and we update that frequently. The ARPA funds, I have to mention too and emphasize, are in addition to more than $40 million that we have already distributed in rent and utility assistance. We do expect to receive at least another $50 million so that we can keep that important program going. So no doubt, you all have heard the exciting news that Mutual of Omaha is going to be building a new corporate headquarters in downtown Omaha. Mutual will move its 4,000 local employees to this new headquarters. This is really an important step because it brings jobs downtown to the urban core and to make existing jobs more accessible to North and South Omaha workforce. Our announcement to proceed with the streetcar will also create a lot of new development and new jobs and new opportunities in our urban core. The streetcar will link to 12 current Metro bus routes, including north and south routes, providing new access to employment, education, healthcare, and many other services. We have always talked about a greater need for public transportation in Omaha to move people around from their homes to their jobs, to the doctor, to school, and back home again. And this is a very, very positive plan that we have developed, and now we have funded it and announced that it will happen. This year, Metro Transit begins to study North and South 24th Street for additional transit options. So Metro will also complete its strategic plan, Metro Next, this year. And very briefly, Forever North and 24th and Lake redevelopment plan are on their way right now to the City Council for approvals. With City Council approval, Forever North will become part of the city's master plan, and it will guide development along North 24th Street for many years. These plans will promote revitalization in this corridor. And finally, construction of 108 mixed-use income housing units is underway at Highlander. There are units reserved for residents of the Spencer homes, units that are set aside for low and moderate income households, and market rate units will be available to anyone. So there will also be commercial space in this area. So these are just a few brief highlights that I felt I could get in 10 minutes, but I hope you will see, as we do, the opportunities we have to work together. Thanks, Willie. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you, Mayor Stothard. Really appreciate the update. And I know everything's tight on time today, but we appreciate that. And your team is available, I believe, also to answer and respond to chat messages that are coming through. One of the things you talked about, the funds that will be available through the city, and then also mentioned Senator Justin Wayne and Senator McKinney that will be coming on here shortly. One of the most encouraging things that's developed is we've been working collectively around the transformation plan. Many of the elements of the transformation plan are now in the North Omaha Recovery Plan that Senator Wayne has introduced. And it's very encouraging that my understanding, the city, county, and state, as you said, are coordinating efforts and supporting each other, and specifically supporting the move on the North Omaha Recovery Plan. So it'll be great to hear from Senator Wayne and Senator Terrell on that. Thank you, and thank all the folks that are there with you in the office on Saturday morning being a part of this. So we want to continue that sense of urgency. We've heard from David Drozd around the unemployment rate even before COVID hit us, the poverty rate before COVID hit us, and now what are the things that we need to do to move our city, our North Omaha, South Omaha, and the city forward. So today, specifically focusing on North Omaha, I believe we have Senator McKinney that is with us, and I think you've got some great news around some work that you've been doing since you've been in the Senate. But maybe talk about where you are around some moving forward in 22. And I don't know if you or Justin will share about the North Omaha Recovery Plan, but we really appreciate you taking time. I think you got a wrestling tournament coaching, but we appreciate you being a part of what's going on. Senator Terrell McKinney representing North Omaha.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Willie. As Willie was stating, I co-sponsored LB 1024 and 1025 with Senator Wayne, which is the North Omaha Recovery Plan. And we are seeking $450 million from the ARPA funds that was appropriated from the federal government to the state. And our approach for the plan, we tried to look at every plan that was, formulated throughout the years and try to put together the most concise plan that would fit within the guidelines that was set by the Treasury. And in doing so, I think we might have crafted, one of the best plans that, our state has seen. And it's definitely important because I think these funds are once in a lifetime. And I think we need to do all we can to try to put as much resources as possible into North Omaha to rebuild the community and really put some intention behind it. As Willie was stating, my priority bill, which was LB 450, the Adopt the Innovation Hub Act, was moved to select file. I think the vote was like 43-0, no opposition. And what the Innovation Hub Act would do, it would create an innovation hub program in our state. And my vision behind it is to put an innovation hub in North Omaha that will be focused on small business and entrepreneurship innovation, assisting small businesses and entrepreneurs with starting a business, bookkeeping, whatever you need. You can go to the Innovation Hub and get that help, because that's what's been missing for so long in our community is, a central place to get access to resources. You hear all the time about different resources that are spread out across the community, but in North Omaha, transportation has always been an issue. Cultural competency is an issue when you access some of these resources. So in my vision, putting this innovation hub inside of North Omaha would do wonders for our small businesses. And that has been my main focus, being in the legislature, is to improve the economic environment within North Omaha. Because I personally think that if we lead with economics, everything else will fall in place. Because if we empower ourselves economically, we don't necessarily have to venture out and try to get access to capital and things like that. So that's very important for me. And working with Senator Wayne, I think we got a great chance of getting LB 1024 and 1025 passed, my bad. But I think it's important. We've been trying to stay in lockstep as much as possible with each other, but also with the city and the county, because in Lincoln, we have to make sure that we have the city and the county on board with some skin in the game, because without that, it makes it difficult for us to make the argument that these resources are needed for our community if the city and the county isn't investing in it. But we've been hearing some better, news about, city's commitment and county's commitment, which is great. And it makes it easier for us to make the arguments in Lincoln. What else is I've introduced some other bills as well that deal with Business Innovation Act and things like that to try to bring some more resources to the community. That's important, because without the resources, it makes it tough. And I just fundamentally don't think we can social program our way out of the state that North Omaha is in. I think we have to, again, lead with economics and make that our focus and go from there. So I'm very excited about the session, about the year, because the opportunities that are on the table for us are once in a lifetime. And I'm not sure if it'll ever happen again, which is why we're trying to do all we can to take advantage of it as much as possible.
Senator McKinney, I really want to say thank you. I know you pushed on that iHub piece, and I think you had a 43-0 or 46-0 vote.
Yep.
That's huge. So thank you for that, and thank you and Senator Wayne. Let's bring in Senator Wayne as well. I know he's on the move. Thank you, Senator McKinney, for your leadership, and thank you, Senator Wayne, for really listening to the community, the conversations we had around transformation, and then the meetings that you and Senator McKinney and others held to bring in additional data. But I just want to say on behalf of all those partners that have put a lot of years in to have the city, county, and state beginning to really align efforts, but the fact that you all put a huge proposal on the table for North Omaha for this moment. So I really appreciate that. Senator Wayne, it's yours.
So thank you. So sorry, I appreciate you guys flip-flopping the schedule. My daughter's basketball team and I coach was playing the #1 team, and we won by 5. So I couldn't leave like I thought I was going to. So I appreciate that. Sorry, clearly I was yelling at the game. But this year I want to make sure people understand what Senator McKinney said about transformational. We're looking at a $450 million plan for North Omaha. This week we got confirmation of kind of what the city was doing, and they are aligned with us. I've been talking to the mayor consistently this week. They're putting money in affordable housing. We're putting money in affordable housing. They're putting money in infrastructure, making sure we build some infrastructure up. They're doing the same thing around green spaces and parks. So with the city and county being aligned, we got a real chance to go out and get 400 million. And why is that number so important? We've never had an influx of cash like this, at least in my lifetime, but I think ever. And making sure we get these once in a lifetime opportunity to push this plan through, which is affordable housing, jobs, and just basic infrastructure. The big thing that people have to realize is when you go down in North Omaha, and I'm an attorney, and even if I want to rent office space, we don't have the infrastructure to just go do that. So it forces businesses to look elsewhere. One thing we're looking at is a huge manufacturing site and warehouse site down by the airport. We have the chamber on board, we have the state on board, we have the city on board, the county on board. And these are, I want you people to understand, this is not Justin coming up with an idea. We went through all the plans, and the transformational plan that Willie has was instrumental in that. And so when you start looking at all these plans and saying, man, we've had a lot of great plans for the last 20 years, but nothing's really have changed. Why is that? It's because we didn't have the dollars. And these federal dollars are 100% designed for North and South Omaha and qualified census tract. The governor's on board. It's a lot of people who are getting on board to figure out how we impact North Omaha. So it is truly a change. The hearing for 1024, which is the special committee that we're making to oversee these funds and distribute these funds, will be February 1st at 1:30 in the Department of Urban Affairs, which I chair. We'll probably exec on it the next day. It'll be to the floor as either a committee priority bill or my personal priority bill, and we're going to push forward. But it's instrumental for everybody listening on this call to go on our website, nebraskalegislature.gov, make comments on LB 1024, 1025. 1025 is the appropriation bill. So we have two different vehicles, two different bills, because it was so important for us to figure out how we do this. But 1024, you can go on the website, and all the comments you make are going to the senators, and we all look them up and see what the public are saying. So do that. You can come to the hearing. We're going to have some invited testimony first, so it's organized a little bit, and then we're going to open it up to everybody to testify. Just because it's such a big program that we're trying to launch, we didn't want the committee to get confused on somebody coming up talking about housing, the next person talking about business, and then we go to health, and then we go back to housing. So we're trying to organize it by groups to make sure the committee clearly understands the impact that is needed in our community to change it. Based off of this plan, the engineer estimates, and the people out there who review all these plans and kind of project, we're looking at bringing anywhere to 500 to 1,000 jobs down to North Omaha in the airport park area. And the airport park area is around Carter Lake. So we looking at true impacts, how we can make a big difference. This is such a priority for us that Senator McKinney and I leave the floor because we don't want to get brought into other arguments that aren't ours. Like, we are consciously at every moment in Lincoln pushing for this plan because this will fundamentally change North Omaha. And it's never happened before where the city, county, and the state are aligned to do something for North Omaha. This is the first time ever that all the Black elected officials have gotten together and just been like, we got to do something. We can make an impact here. So it's not a Justin Wayne, it's not a Senator McKinney plan. We just happen to have our names on it. And the plan's so powerful now, we're incorporating South Omaha to the table. And both of those senators, McDonald and Vargas, we're actually working on an amendment to change it to not the North Omaha Recovery Plan, but basically the East Omaha Recovery Plan, because we are suffering from COVID and still feeling the effects of COVID. To understand why that's so important is we still have census tracts that have unemployment rates that we saw in the 2008-2009 recession. We still have census tracts in poverty that we haven't seen since the recession. So everywhere else around us is recovering but us. And this is our opportunity to make sure we recover. And it comes from public health care. It comes from lack of jobs. It comes from lack of investment in North Omaha. And part of it is it's just so complex and so big. If you put 10 million into North Omaha, the city, the county, and the state, we feel like we're doing something, but the problems are so big, we go down there and look, and it's like we haven't made a dent. And this year, we would not only make a dent, we can fundamentally transform this. So LB 1024 is important. It's very important that everybody starts commenting and showing up to the hearing if you can get there. If not, just comment on and send letters to the committee. And it's very important that we focus. Thank you.
Senator Wayne, Senator McKinney. I brought in Senator McKinney again, just to say thank you for what you've already done. We know there's a lot of heavy lifting that you continue to do and will do. It's great to hear the South Omaha is being joined in with this overall initiative. And I hope everybody is really hearing that the city, county, state are aligned. I just saw a note from Councilman Pete Festerson saying that he's also has a letter of support for 1024, 1025. I'm hearing obviously from the mayor's office, there are many people that have now, one of our goals when we talked about it a year ago was to have, and Senator McKinney put words to it, he said, one united plan from North Omaha. If we can get behind that, we can really make this happen. And the two of you took that on, put it on the table, and the partnerships that are coming around it are absolutely incredible. This is what we've been preparing for and working towards for 15 years, literally. So Senator McKinney, I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to weigh in, and then we'll give you a chance to close out, Justin. But Senator McKinney?
No, I just would say that even if you can't make it, as Senator Wayne stated, send an online comment, send a letter, call down a Lincoln, call some senators. I think as much support as possible is needed so they can see it as real. But if you can't come testify, that would be great. But if you can't make it, still submit a comment or write a letter. That's all important.
Excellent. Thank you, Senator McKinney. I don't want to get us off track, but I know there's some other things around prison reform that you've been really active in that are on the table as well. So we don't want to skip over that because that's a central issue in our community as well. So thank you for your leadership and pushing on that.
No problem. With that, so I won't go too in the weeds, but went through a process called with the governor and some other senators called the CJI process, the Crime Justice Institute, and we looked at our state's prison population and tried to come up with some recommendations to address it going forward. Because as you all know, the governor is seeking to build another prison, and we're trying to figure out what is the best way forward. Because when you look at the numbers, even if we were to build another prison in another 5 years, we would have to build another prison. So we have to address the criminal justice system. Senator Steve Lathrop introduced a bill, LB 920, which encompasses all the recommendations from the study. I introduced some bills. Senator Wayne has introduced some bills as well. And we're just going to try to get them across the table in lockstep with all this other stuff. So it's a really important year for our state.
Thank you, Senator McKinney, for your work. Senator Wayne, we'll give you a chance to close out. This is huge.
So the big it's huge, really. We were joking because it's the first year that I've actually felt pressure down in the legislature, because usually we go down there and we fighting for scraps, and this is a huge opportunity to change us. So if you want to look at the plan, it's North Omaha 2022.com, North Omaha 2022.com. It outlines the plans, it outlines the programs. It's really specific on how we're going to be accountable to the public about these dollars and how we're going to change Omaha. Biggest thing is make sure you come down and talk, make sure you send letters. Everybody in the legislature is interested. The speaker, to the most conservative, you would think don't care about North Omaha, is like, we got to do something for North Omaha. This is a changing point for North Omaha. So now we just got to make sure the community steps up and shows how important this is too. Thank you for all you're doing, Willie, and thank you for being a part of this process. And if the mayor's still on, really appreciate it. I know Pete's still on. Councilman Festerson, thanks for all the support. This is truly transformational, and it wouldn't come together with all you guys not coming together.
Thank you again, senators. We do have, you talked about the city, you've heard from the state. We are honored to have as well Commissioner Chris Rogers. Again, 15 years we've been working together with the county, with Chris specifically in leadership, leading us through the pandemic, but also this moment of bringing all of the levels together around ARPA. And then so we'll hear from Commissioner Rogers. I also want to recognize that we'll have Councilwoman Juanita Johnson and Councilman Pete Festerson before we move into a closeout on moving forward. So with that, Commissioner Rogers, you have the floor. Welcome.
Thank you, Willie. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. First of all, I want to thank everybody for their work, and I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to go through 4 areas. I'm going to go through that are relevant to the district and that the county has a great amount of investment in. We talk about criminal justice, talk about public health, talk about general county administration, and then I'll lay out to you where the county is from ARPA. So the things I'm gonna talk to you about before I get to ARPA are investments that the county has made over the last years that are irrelevant of ARPA money. I want to talk to you a little bit first about criminal justice and the county's continual emphasis in trying to reform the local juvenile justice system and really get up front in that process. I want to know over the next coming year, the county's going to invest somewhere close to $2+ million in juvenile justice. First phase of that is going to be for support services. Over the time that we've been working on this, from the time when our averages in the detention center was somewhere in the 200s to now, today we have about 60 kids in that facility, 55 that are actually Douglas County kids. Some of that investment over the years has continued to go to getting programs and things in place. As those numbers have went down, the kids that have maintained to be in that system have had incredible challenges. One of the unfortunate things that we have not been able to get a grip on and that we're constantly trying to get on is the fact that right now in the facility, 90% of those kids are kids of color, either Black, Latino, or Asian. So at least $1 million of that funding that we have now is specifically dedicated to reducing those inequities by putting programs around those kids and families for support services that we will be able to try to get those kids served in the community and not inside the youth detention center. An additional $1 million plus $1 million is going to go toward violence reduction and trying to serve those kids with high offenses. In the earlier presentation, you heard from Chief Smollett some of those increases that have happened. Right now, we're going to put about $1 million into the community in a partnership that we've got with U-Turn to increase their capacity to be able to handle some of those high violent offenders and try to really get up front with those services to families. Also, we've been working for the past years in partnership with Creighton, University of Nebraska Medical Center, CHI, and also Nebraska Medicine and Charles Drew to put an increased investment into that facility on mental health and making soft handoffs and trying to get kids services out in the community and not inside. Next, I want to talk a little bit to you about public health. The biggest change, I think, in public health here in the county is our new director, Dr. Lindsay Hughes. She came on board mid last year after 20 years of service that Dr. put into this community. We're very, very fortunate to have Dr. Hughes. We're confident in her leadership, and we think that she will continue to work with Dr. Poore in regards to trying to address the public needs to fight the pandemic, but also move us forward in regards to our work in the community to address public health. Of this year, we have invested $2.5 million into the health department to address the disparities that have happened in regards of COVID-19, but also to try to accomplish the goals that we set out in 2020 when we declared racism as a public health crisis. That $2 million that we're putting into the department and back into the community is going to fund the following: 7 community health workers to try to work through the issues of the social determinants of health. One of those will be specifically dedicated to North Omaha, one specifically to South Omaha, and the remaining 5 will work on the hotline and with community members to address the social determinants of health and some of the equities that happen in that realm. Also, we're investing in 1 epidemiologist to look at the underlying causes and really study into some of the underpinning of the racial and ethnic disparities that are in public health that have risen and been there through the system throughout the years, but have particularly gotten aggravated through the COVID-19 epidemic. And then lastly, we invested in a DEI supervisor to be there to really embed this more in the programs that we're doing there at the health department. I want to also thank all those partners in North and South Omaha that have been working with us on these efforts. I think in Reverend Cavitt's report, she mentioned some of the things going on. She's been very integral with that, with us and a whole lot of other people that are here on the call. From the administrative piece at the county, one of our biggest achievements this year has been the creation of a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. I want to personally thank Key Station, that I know is on the phone there in the mayor's office, for his help in helping us to form this behind the scenes. It's a goal that the county had, and we were able to accomplish that this year. Some of you have met our officer, and we look forward to after she gets settled in here, after this 3-week period that she's been here already, after she gets settled in and make her rounds around the community. Marissa Hattab, you all know her from her work. Some of you know her from her work, Mentor, Nebraska, and we're happy to have her there to work on efforts for the whole system here at the county. Lastly, I want to talk to you about ARPA. The county has approximately about $111 million. The county set out its stakes of what we were going to do with ARPA in August, and it comes around 3 planks. The county, as it was mentioned, I think by the mayor, the priority of that money was to try to fill some of the local health needs. So the county 3 emphases were taking care of county needs. The next phase was an emphasis on mental health and how do we strengthen that service here in the county. And then lastly, we were taking proposals from the community that heavily focused on mental health areas in general, and the county would look at those as they come. So as of right now, of the first 55 million that the county has, we've invested 23 million, probably about 30 million back into county projects to replenish revenue and to get facilities COVID ready and prepare them for the future. We've also we're earmarked $5 million for the health department and the COVID-19 efforts and some of the continuing efforts here in the future that we may need to address. We've highlighted $5 million for corrections, and a part of that money in corrections is to try to address the issue that we've been talking about here for a couple of years, and those are low-level offenders that are sitting in our facility on pretrial. And we're going to ramp up some of the services there in that respect to try to make sure that we address that disparity may be there, but try to make sure that those people sitting there in pretrial are not hindered and that they can get back into society very quickly. Also, we've earmarked about $2 million for tourism for a loss that was there in a fund that we used to provide out to the community. And also we've laid out about $17.5 million, where $2.5 million will go to individual commissioners to work through in their districts. Some of that money has went out already, and where it comes specifically to North Omaha, as of right now, there's probably about $4 million that's been put right now into North Omaha for projects around maternal child health and some investments with affordable housing in regards to preventing eviction at the courts and trying to address some issues with homeless. For some of the money that I have, particularly, I've been talking to a few people to lay some things out, and some of the things in regards to what you've heard today. There is a health project that I'm trying to work through with a couple of partners to leverage that money. There's also a maternal child health project that I'm working through to leverage a couple of tourism projects, one project dealing with refugees, and you heard earlier from David, the increasing amount of refugees that are here in the district. And then there's some projects that I'm working through for crime prevention, which I hope may have the opportunity to work through with the city on some of that money. We have we probably from the county have committed all except about $5 million. Of the next tranche of money that's scheduled to come in May, probably about $40 to $50 million of that pot is going to be dedicated to specifically addressing mental health. And as I said earlier, that's the focus that the county hopes to get at and really build some infrastructure around community-based mental health. It's our hope that the county jail particularly, which happens to by numbers be the largest mental health institution in the county, because the amount of mental health that we deal with will indirectly address issues going on in North Omaha because of the disproportionate numbers of people of color that are there and that lay out in North Omaha. The plan particularly mentioned by Senator Wayne and Senator McKinney, I will personally be going up there Tuesday to testify for that. The county is definitely going to play in that. If the money hopefully is allocated toward chronic mental health and trying to address that, in talking with the chair, the county is going to play with that and play with establishing that mental health infrastructure here in North Omaha to address that concern. And I'll be up there to testify with that and answer any questions they may have in regards to where the county is going on that front. So Willie, that's my point, to try to get through this as quick as I can, to leave some time, and hopefully I answered any questions individuals might have had.
Thank you, Commissioner Rogers. Really appreciate the details into where the county is looking to and has invested and looking to invest. And we, again, just building off of the conversations with the elected officials to know that the county, city, and state are tied together and really pushing forward on this North Omaha Recovery Plan, because it's time to take these things to scale. We know there's a sense of urgency to address some of those issues, but there are some things that have proven success that we can build on. So we appreciate your leadership and very much your leadership regarding the health pandemic as a board chair there. So thank you for that. We want to bring in and transition over to the city council. We have Councilwoman Juanita Johnson is here with us. And we also have President Pete Festerson that's with us. But we'd like to bring in Councilwoman Johnson. Thank you, first of all, for joining us. And we'd like to get from your perspective where things are and where we go next to really advance North Omaha. So thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, great. Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to thank Willie Barney and the Empowerment Network for their work in allowing me to be a participant on this call today. Next, I would like to recognize both Senators Justin Wayne and Terrell McKinney for their commitment to being public servants. They are definitely forward leaders because they've created a playbook called North Omaha Recovery Plan 2022. This plan outlines what we as community collectively should do as we leverage ARPA funds to decrease poverty levels in our community. Last but not least, I would like to thank everyone on this call for their commitment to serve. On to my report. I want to thank the mayor for highlighting many of the things happening in Omaha, more specifically North Omaha. I will not recap these efforts, but I will discuss transportation, jobs, and youth. What does these three components look like in North Omaha? First, transportation. We're optimistic about bringing in the gap, bringing in the gap or bridging the gap on reliable transportation from North to South Omaha. For decades, North Omaha and South Omaha has been behind as far as transportation is concerned in terms of our constituents being able to effectively travel throughout Omaha and have access to mainstream and real high-paying jobs. And so this year and these coming years with the ARPA funds and things of that nature and all the influx of cash that will be stimulated in North Omaha, we are very hopeful, very knowledgeable in knowing that this will be something that we will have an opportunity to really make a significant impact on transportation and making those bridges and creating those bridges and making our neighborhoods, making our community work very effectively in bridging the gap and decreasing poverty levels in North Omaha. We are greatly appreciative of Biden's initiative to address poverty from a national perspective. District 2 will leverage all opportunities provided by this administration to make a brighter day today and far into the future. On to jobs. Senator Wayne has already touched on jobs coming into North Omaha. But some of the things that I've been working on since I've been in city council for the past 6 months, I've been working with Metro Community College. There is a satellite office that just opened up in Mills Common just about less than 30 days ago. We are hopeful that we will be bringing in projects and opportunities for young folks to learn about technology. Not only technology, but autonomous technology as we lead into the future for autonomous driving, whether that be transportation from a train perspective or even from a truck perspective. Metro Community College offers a lot of different things. They offer welding, they offer 3D printing. And again, we will be leveraging all of those new skill sets again, to bridge the gap on poverty. The University of Nebraska, I've been engaged with them. They also have technology. Went over to 42nd, then Emily, and they have all of this new technology there that kind of gives you a lens on when you are doing surgery, and all of the nurses and all of the surgeons are there, and you're going to school and you're learning about what it is in the forefront before you take on that career. You kind of get a hands-on bird's eye view as to what that really looks like and what you will really do when you complete your degree as a nurse, as a surgeon. You would already have that experience from the front, because that apparatus, that vehicle that they have there at Emily does showcase and provide a platform for students to learn on the job training and be a beacon to our community as we address the various health concerns that we have. The University of Nebraska Medical Center is very large. It is one of the largest employers in Omaha, and we expect that they will continue to be very impactful to North Omaha. Again, as we try to reduce poverty levels in North Omaha, we feel that they will be a very large component to access jobs to North Omaha. Unions, I have been engaged with all of the top union players in North Omaha, and they have assured me that when we are ready to bring children, bring youth, bring young adult to them as an opportunity to provide skill sets in the union, which is again, a large opportunity for a gainful job, high employment, high opportunity for bringing money to the family back to their homes. Also, construction companies, I've talked to various construction companies, and they're ready to provide opportunities for North Omaha to be there, gaining skills from their experience, their expertise, and all of that. We are very excited about what job opportunities youth will have in North Omaha. We also know that there are a number of dedicated partners, dedicated employees, dedicated members in our community that are willing to help us leverage the gap and decrease the level of the number of poverty that we have in our community. There are some youth opportunities also, such as this summer, we had the Bryant Center was very engaged with our youth. They had that center open. As we can look back, all of us in North Omaha, we can really say that in the Bryant Center about a year ago, 2 years ago, it was really daunting over there. That area or that center has cleaned up, and they did work very hard this summer, especially when the power outage was out in our area for up to a week. They were very impactful, and we worked as a community, collectively as a community, and provided a platform, provided a home, a space for the youth to come and engage in working together as a team. Churches, we have Reverend Cabot. She is very engaged in the community. As we know, with the pandemic, she has made herself available to our community and providing the opportunities for the vaccines, education as it relates to COVID-19. Then we have NAACP, another beacon in our community. They have, Pastor Williams has dedicated himself to really engage our community and bringing back the old adage that NAACP had in the past in terms of being very advocate regarding the political things that are happening in our community and how they play a real impactful role in how we live day to day, things that are happening that, our day-to-day lives are very impactful based upon how we engage in the civic arena. And NAACP has charged themselves with being that advocate that will educate and promote political involvement. There are other nonprofit agencies in our community as well, such as the Untamed. They, again, this summer when the power was out, they fed many families in North Omaha, and I just want to give them a shout out. And then we have Workforce Solution that also will be providing opportunities for the youth and an apprenticeship program to get them ready for that job that they want to have tomorrow. Again, Willie, thank you for this opportunity. Really looking forward to continuing leading in the North Omaha area. Also to Senator Wayne, Senator Terrell, I will be on the ground actively engaging our community to support your bill that will definitely take us to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Johnson, for that update. And we really appreciate your efforts to push forward on jobs, push forward in helping our youth to get connected and directly addressing transportation. And we certainly are incredibly encouraged to hear from you and the other leaders around this support for North Omaha Recovery Plan. So we look forward to continuing to work with you. And we want to bring in now Councilman Pete Festerson, who again has been with us, I think, since 2009, working together in 2 different hats. But Councilman Festerson, thank you so much for being here and give you a chance to give a quick update on where things are headed for you.
You bet. Thanks, Willie. And yeah, I've been proud to be involved for about the whole 15 years. But what I like about today is all the urgency and opportunity we do have around these many items. So I'll be pleased to give you a quick update from my city perspective and also from my CHI Health perspective, but do it quickly so we can keep you on track for this next section. From a city council perspective, as the mayor mentioned, we have the North 24th Street redevelopment plan and Forever North plan on our agenda. It'll have its public hearing on February 15th. So if you're all inclined to come down and testify and support it, that'd be great. I'm confident we will support it, and as it provides the context for a lot of great projects you're going to hear about, I think, here in your next section. Also, this Tuesday, as she mentioned, we do have the first ARPA allocations, the $10 million to the Community Foundation and the $5 million to United Way. Also confident we'll get those approved, and those will fund things we all care about here, like violence prevention and workforce and food and basic needs, so important to the community. We need your help then to engage folks in your area to apply for that money through those grant processes, which will be available in the next few months, to make sure we're leveraging that money for North Omaha, which is where it must go, given the language in that bill and the census tracts that it identifies. Also very supportive of maximizing funds to affordable housing, the 20 million that can match the 20 million in private funds we know is available will be of great benefit to what we're talking about here. And then the $10 million in public spaces, I do think that's a great opportunity also to leverage some of the projects identified in the North Omaha plan. Things like the MLK Plaza and the Malcolm X site that I know you'll hear about here next as well. And then lastly, as Willie already mentioned, Councilmember Johnson and I are submitting a letter, and I think she'll be attending the hearing next week for LB 1024, supporting Senators Wayne and McKinney, and want to do all we can to help leverage that state money and also our city and county funds to make a big difference and really move the bar here this year. From the CHI Health perspective, a quick update there as well. I know I have some colleagues on the phone from CHI Health, Anthony Ashby for one. We're committed to the Redefine the Game process with Willie. We've been very open in holding ourselves accountable for our diversity in our workforce. We have 16,000 employees, and we're working actively to diversify that workforce, and not just the workforce, but our leadership ranks as well through that program. You may have seen we have a new CEO now too, just in the last week. His name is EJ Kuiper. We'll look forward to getting him involved in this great partnership too. We're committed to step up again in 2022. We've been a 15-year partner there. Love that program. We're also working with the Omaha Economic Development Corporation and Mike Maroney on a project that is now through the planning board. It'd be an $8 million investment on North 20th Street, just east of Kellum Elementary, that can produce about 100 new jobs in the community. So we're working hard to get that one across the finish line with Willie and Mike, and look forward to getting that done here shortly. And then the last thing I'd mention, which is maybe the thing I'm most excited about, is we're working on a $40 to $50 million project in behavioral health for the children and families. As we all know, this is a huge need in our community and in the metropolitan area. This Center for Children and Families will be located on the Manual campus, so North 72nd Street. We're working with philanthropic partners and state partners on this. I'm very confident it's going to get achieved. If you're familiar with the Lasting Hope Center for Adults, this would be the Lasting Hope Center for Children, and provide a place for folks that are 5 to 18 years old to access behavioral health care in a center of excellence that's not an emergency room, but more appropriate for their service, and have long-term beds there as well, that I think would be a huge step up for our community and definitely for North Omaha, and consistent with the North Omaha plan as well. So those are my updates for now. And I look forward to working on these things and really making a difference here in the next few months.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Councilman Festerson, for all of your work, for your continuous partnership with all of the work happening across North Omaha. Consistently been at the table, consistently been a part of these conversations, and we thank you for your service to our community. So we are coming now to the final segment of our day today. We've talked about where we've been. We've talked about where we are and the opportunities that exist for North Omaha and African Americans in this moment today. But now we're going to take a turn to the future and start talking about moving forward and our priorities for 2022 and beyond. And we're going to start with a conversation about jobs and careers, employment, diversity and equity and inclusion. And we're going to bring in who Forbes has called one of the next 1,000 business owners to watch. And she's also the Enterprising Woman of the Year, Ms. Carmen Tapio. We're going to bring her into the conversation now to talk about what's next for some of the projects that she has taken place here in North Omaha. Actually still good morning.
It is still good morning. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for that introduction and for the opportunity to speak here today. It's a pleasure to be with you. Gosh, it was 2020, about this time in 2020 that we were last able to all be together. So hopefully we'll be able to be together again in person soon. I'm going to bring up my screen and try to do this eloquently. Just give me one moment. And if I may share my screen. It'll take just a minute to fix my display settings. And if you would just let me know when you can see my screen, that would be great. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there this morning. I know we're getting to the finish line. Can you see my screen?
We still see you.
Can still see me. Okay. It's a little bit of a presentation. Once it loads, it'll go quickly. So if you'll just let me know when you can see it.
Have you clicked the blue share button in the bottom right corner?
Oh, I guess I haven't done that. Let's see. So it would help if I do that. Share.
There we go.
All right. From the beginning, let's see if we can get that to come up. All right, can you see? Nope.
Yes, we can see your PowerPoint.
You can see the PowerPoint. All right, if anything goes wonky, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep going here. All right, well, we have some exciting news to share today. We're calling our presentation Making Good on a Promise. We started our company 6 years ago with a mission of creating jobs and changing lives. And our mission continues to that end in terms of wanting to, I'm just getting a note here that you're not able to see my screen. So display, there we go. That better? Okay. With a commitment to ensuring that the community is able to benefit from everything that we do and benefit directly from our success, to know every employee by name and to find something to celebrate every single day. And we are certainly in celebration mode. We continue to grow. We are on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing private companies in America for the second year in a row at number 754. We are also on the Grojo list of fastest growing companies in the world, the 10,000 fastest growing companies in the world. So we've come a long way in a very short period of time. We are a certified women-owned business and a HubZone business certified as well, and an internationally and nationally recognized organization. And we are proud to say that we were recognized by the Urban League as having the best corporate culture organized and recognized by the young professionals. What we do, just wanted to highlight again what we do in terms of the sectors that we serve. We serve both commercial and government entities in a variety of sectors: retail, banking, logistics, high tech. We've done a lot of work in the nonprofit world as well. So we're very diverse in the type of work that we do. And you see our clients here. We wanted to say thank you to our clients because we are who we are because of our partnerships. And so you see the variety in the logos that we have here. We're very honored to work on behalf of local organizations as well as national entities. And we also wanted to say thank you to our partners that help us and support us in everything that we do, and ultimately in our mission of creating jobs and changing lives. Just as a reminder, we are not a telemarketer. What we really are is a multifaceted operation in terms of acting as an extension of our client's business, doing very highly complex work, everything from loan servicing to help desk, back office support. We work in healthcare and appointment setting, doing transportation, dispatch and services. So a wide variety of types of work that we do. Everything is customized for our clients, and about a third of our employees carry 5C security clearances as well. How we do it: we're really focused on a very holistic approach that has evolved over time. And our end game is really about what has been talked about a lot here today, and that is economic impact. Economic independence is what we strive for in terms of how we work with our entire employee base and our team, advancing their leadership and skills in their career development, and also creating a sense of belonging through also an environment of service excellence. We are highly competitive in our industry, and so while we do good and we are very focused on business for the greater good, we're also very focused on being the best in our industry. And I wanted to just highlight something that was really important, especially through the pandemic, and that is we have always been committed to full-time employment. Today, we only have 4 part-time employees, and that is because that is their choice, because we wanted to provide benefits to our employees, including medical benefits. During the pandemic, we actually grew significantly. We were able to go work from home very quickly, looking at every employee's individual circumstances and addressing their needs on an individual basis. And what we found was about 30% of our employees did not have broadband access. And we worked with every single person to ensure that they not only had a home, because homelessness also surfaced when we went work from home. And so we worked to help people find adequate housing, but also a means by which they could continue employment. For employees that came down with COVID, we provided meals for their families for at least a week, using Black-owned businesses to cater those meals. And we were very, very intentional about ensuring that we stayed connected with our employees. There's been a lot of discussion about mental health and well-being. And so our culture continuity plan and our ability to stay connected and engage was really important to us. As I mentioned, we grew substantially, and I'm proud to say that we were a part of both the national and state response to the pandemic. Our growth, when we started our company in 2015, our goal was 200 jobs. Today, we are in the top 2% of all employers nationwide. We started with 14 employees. We've grown over 2,000%. We hit a high mark in 2020 at over 400 employees, and we have every intention to continue that growth. Just quickly, I'm not going to go through this entire org chart, but I wanted to make a point here. As you look at this organization chart, please notice the diversity. Please also notice the longevity of employment, and then also notice the green lines around some of the boxes. Anyone that has a green line around the box has been promoted from within our organization. And as you look at, this is our frontline leadership team. You'll see a lot of green boxes. About 95% of our employees have been promoted, our leadership team, and our promotions come from within, and that's something that we are extremely proud of. We have someone here, Tyler Johnson, that's been with us for 26 days. We have Jake that's been with us for 6 months. And I could not be more proud of our team and what they've accomplished in a very short period of time, because their growth has fueled what our plans are for the future and their commitment to what we do. We are a leader in workforce development in our community, and we are intentional in our partnerships with things like tuition assistance, our partnership with MCC and our Customer Experience Academy, cross-training, and our Grow Navigator program that we have that helps our employees overcome the barriers that a lot have been talked about today, such as transportation, daycare, and other things. And I've got just a few more slides I want to get to really quickly because we're going to end with our news. Our economic impact today is nearly is over 160 million, approaching 170 million since inception. And each job that we create today is nearly $290,000 in economic impact per job. Our median household income in our zip code is almost $30,000. Our employees are in the top 50% of earners in the 68110 impact zip code. We believe that our location is our advantage, and we consider North Omaha to be the next economy. And a lot of can be done through programs and services, but a lot can be done in terms of creating economic independence. We are young, and we take advantage of the talented and educated labor pool that we have in our area. We are a prime location that contributes 60% of the state's GDP, and nearly 80% of the residents in zip code 68110 have attained a high school education, and more than 10% have bachelor's degree, which is a little known fact. Making good on our promise, I wanted to share with you today in closing, we have plans for the property that we've acquired at 24th and Lake Street. We've always said that the community would directly benefit from our success, and we are making a $50 million investment, at least a $50 million investment in North Omaha. This is a rendering, it's a conceptual design of the new facility that we are building with office space, mixed use office space, mixed income and affordable housing, and a new corporate office for North End Teleservices. So this is it. We are in the midst of selecting our architect. You'll see that the apartments on the second and third floors all have balconies. We're going to have green spaces on the first floor. As I mentioned, we'll have mixed use retail space. We're working with Blair Freeman as our owner's representative, and we want to acknowledge the history of this location. We want to not only acknowledge the history of the location, but also modernize as we acknowledge, and really acknowledge also the assets that are in the area. So we want it to fit very nicely into what's already there in the neighborhood. You'll see the brick that we're using has the historic reference, bringing the development right up to streetscape, including a daycare on site. There will be restaurants on site, as well as other types of services. A beautiful courtyard area. We see this being a horseshoe-shaped building with outdoor spaces. And we are looking to the ways in which we can incorporate spaces for the community as well. Right now, we're envisioning what might be a gymnasium. It could be a meeting space. And then we're also very interested in, and we're planning to acquire additional lots to the north, and we are dreaming about a pocket neighborhood that has mixed housing styles front porches, green spaces, and gardens. For those of you that know me, I'm a gardener, so we have to incorporate that. But beautiful spaces for families and to help further create community, because there's a lot of community already there, and we want to add to the assets in the area. Again, a mix of housing styles and some happy people, lots of happy people. And we are just thrilled and excited about working with Blair Freeman to undertake this development. And lastly, I just wanted to give a shameless plug for our little group called Nebraska Black Women United, 800 members strong, many on the phone with us today. And we are just thrilled to still be here and still kicking it. Our goal is 1,000 jobs. Willie, you've heard us say that before this year, but we are going for 1,000 jobs by the end of 22. So thank you for the time, and thank you everyone for all that you are doing. Together, we're gonna keep moving it.
Come on through North Omaha. Miss Carmen, congratulations to you, the entire team, reflecting the history of the 24th and Lake, coming back to the corner, building up, providing housing opportunities, commercial jobs, childcare. Man, what an incredible vision, what an incredible piece of the major puzzle that's happening. So congratulations to you and your team, all of those that are involved, Ashley and Miranda and all the partners that you have that are working with you. I'm sure there's gonna be lots of questions for you from the folks about next steps and all that. But and thank you for unveiling it here at the State of North Omaha. Really appreciate it. What a great example of what's possible to start where you were 6 years ago with a vision and a dream, and then to be able to expand to a point that you're looking at bringing 1,000 jobs to the heart of North Omaha. So big stuff, big, big, big. So thank you. And just as we continue to move forward collectively to do even more of this with all the things that we've been talking about today, there is a sense of urgency that this is our time to really advance North Omaha, to advance South as well. And so I'm just full of joy and excitement about the possibilities, and to see that visually, and now that it's getting ready to happen, it's powerful. So congratulations, Carmen. Back to you, Jonathan. Thank you.
There are no words. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. I think what's so beautiful about it is you have a globally recognized business that was built right here in North Omaha that is leading by example by reinvesting in North Omaha. And so thank you so much, Carmen, for that amazing work. And we're excited because that's only one segment of revitalization that's going to be taking place here in our community. We're excited to welcome Leo Lewis and Joanna LaFleur Ejiki from the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation, who are going to be joining us today as well to talk about some updates happening with the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. Welcome to the call, guys.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good day, everybody. Good day. I first want to say thank you to Willie and the organizers of this event. Also, I want to give props to all the grassroots organizers who might not be on this call, but who are here with us in spirit. I guess for us to move forward as Black folks, it's very important for us to come together through all classes and at all levels of education from all backgrounds. It's so important that we do this work together collectively and continue to grow. I thank Willie specifically for giving me the chance to grow over these years from the time I met him to now. And I thank everybody else on this call who I've met and some who I haven't met. But I'm not going to be before you long, because my announcement to you today is that through a lot of hard work, strategic planning, and taking really passionate Black folks, putting them in a room and having hard conversations, we've been able to come very far at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. And I'd like to welcome and congratulate Ms. Joanna LaFleur Ejiki for being our first paid Executive Director of the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. And she will continue with the presentation of the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation as our Executive Director. And from here moving forward, please reach out to her with all contacts, conversations, and communications that are not as far as board level concerned with the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. So Joanna, congratulations, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Leo. Can everybody hear me fine? Awesome, awesome. Yes, happy to be in the room today and happy to continue the journey of to be North Omaha's young child growing in this work. So I've been uh, mentored by a lot of you in this room, coached by a lot of you in this room, and so I'm really grateful to finally have the opportunity to shine my light through this leadership position. So I see some love being shared in the chat. Thank you for that as well. I don't want to take up too much time because I know it has been a long, eventful morning, and we're going to keep the excitement going. So what I'd like to do today is just share about 4 or 5 slides with you all and let you know what we are doing with the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation in 2022 and the next 5 to 10 years, our growth and our plans. So I will pull that up now. If you give me one moment. Excellent. I appreciate the love in the chat. Looking forward to meeting and speaking with y'all soon, of course. So as you see now here, the historic Malcolm X Memorial Foundation grounds located at 3448 Evans Street. So if you have not visited us, make sure that is in your plans after or when the spring comes back around is probably the best time. And so as Leo mentioned, we've been doing some strategic planning. Back in August, we wrapped that up. And so some of this information is from that process. If you're not aware, we have 17 acres right in the heart of North Omaha, founded by Rowena Moore in 1971. And we are approaching 50 years here. So this is a good time for us to celebrate and keep it moving, honestly. So this is our organizational structure here. Next slide here, our new mission and vision statement from this strategic planning process. We are focused on preserving the human rights legacy of Malcolm X, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, while prioritizing self-reliance and determination through radical movement building. And this is really important for us moving forward because we are, of course, a historic organization, but we really want to be activated in moving people forward as Malcolm X would have done if he were here. And we want to make sure people have the tools to do so. So that is what we mean by self-reliance and determination. And then again, our vision statements here listed. You can read those for yourself and they will be on our website when we revamp it. And so I'm excited about where we're going. And in addition to where we're going are our development goals, which is kind of a big deal for me in this new position because I look forward to making connections with different people in this room, especially to make this happen. So we have some developmental goals with our grounds, about $695,000. In the past 2 years, we raised $150,000, and we additionally want to grow our budget, our operating budget, to another $120,000. So we will also be adding an outlay of Malcolm X's home on the grounds. There's a rendering here to the right of that explains what Malcolm's childhood was like, with some additional wayfinding signage and accessibility updates to the grounds. And then additionally, we plan to have a visitor's cottage / groundskeeper apartment because it is 17 acres and we want to make sure that the grounds are taken care of as a true memorial site, something that we can make not only a tourist destination, but an educational epicenter for North Omaha. So that's very important for us. And lastly, the existing programs that we are going to maintain and prioritize for the next 6 to 12 months are our educational curriculum, which was now orchestrated through a group of local educators. And this stands for the Institute of Museum and Library Services. So that is a federally funded grant that we got to create this curriculum. Really excited about that. It talks about Malcolm's past, Rowena Moore's timeline and being introduced to Malcolm, and then brings it on to current day issues in Black America and civil rights. Additionally, we'll have a lecture series that'll be a little bit more of a blend of national speakers. The annual Malcolm X birthday celebration, the weekend of May 19th, which is Malcolm's birthday. Continuing to make sure our space is available for outdoor rentals and community collaborations. And then our Shabazz garden and greenhouse. So we'll have more programs as I get my hands dirty on organizational things. And I'm just looking forward to feedback from everybody, of course. And really, it's time, y'all. It's time. So I'm excited about everything. And that is all I have for my presentation. Oh, I'm seeing so many names I haven't seen in a while, but thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Joanna, for those great updates. This is such an exciting time. Congratulations on your position and on the growth that's taking place there at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. So much great work has come out of there, and we're excited to see a very bright future ahead. You all, these are transformative opportunities for our community. North Omaha is not going to look the same in another 5-10 years, and you all are the ones that are making it happen. So thank you so much for just all of the work that you're doing all across our community. And the last place that we want to visit regarding our revitalization here in North Omaha, we want to take it back down to 24th Street, and we want to bring Manny Cook on the line to talk a little bit more about the 24th Street revitalization. There he is.
I'm here.
Welcome. Go ahead and share some updates with us.
Man, I don't know what I can share that hasn't been shared already, but I'll say, like has been said before, shout out to some people who might not have the stage today, like Sundiata and Sherman. They've done some really good work down at the Bryan Center, no doubt. The Culture House, can't leave them out. But as far as the development on 24th Street, we've had people from the city already on. Carmen shared the big news. So I'd just say, February 15th, we have the development plan, which includes developments by Mount Moriah, of course, the outline for what North End is doing, project by the Union, a Black Box Theater. Miranda Adams is working on some more commercial spaces on 24th Street, kind of outlines some of the projects that we're working on at Spark, which I'll get into. And one thing that hasn't been mentioned about Forever North in specific that I think is important to mention to everyone is that the name Forever North means Forever North Side, and one of the main points in Forever North, in fact, the main priority under development is to protect residents from displacement. So I think it's really important. Everything in it is important, but I think that might be the most important part of that plan that's going before council in a couple of weeks. But I'll just dive into some of the things that we're doing at Spark, which I am the urban development manager at Spark. We have the Fabric Lab, which is on 2514 North 24th Street. And there we're partnering with community organizations, pretty much anyone in the community who wants space to work on projects, host meetings, things like that, small businesses. And then we're one of our key partners there is Press and Love with 4 Urban, and that's where the North Omaha Legacy Tours are going to be launching from. In fact, there's probably one going on right now today. I'll be heading down there after this for another one this afternoon. Let's see, and then going from that between just north of Noma, the old Love Jazz up to Mount Moriah, we are working on rehabbing those buildings, and I have already filled the spaces with not only Fabric Lab, but there's a satellite space for North End Teleservices that's right across the street from their development. Styles of Evolution is longtime business that's still here, still in the community, is going to stay here in the community. Stable Gray, we were working with them, and they just moved into one of the buildings there, 2520, I believe it is. And then the last building, which as you drive down 24th Street, you can see it's still being worked on. That's where Styles will move back into the lower floor. And then we'll have about 3 apartments on the top floor where we're going to make them affordable and specific towards artists, creative entrepreneurs in the community. And then around September, we're going to have a few spaces, one more space available. So we're going to be doing a call for business soon. So all those entrepreneurs out there that are looking for a brick and mortar, there'll be a space on 24th Street as early as this fall. Let's see, tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, we're going to start working on some tree cleanup along Highway 75 for the North Omaha Trail Project, which will be formally, I guess, breaking ground. ETA right now is the end of March. So we're going to be starting on that project, which will run basically from 24th and Lake to 30th and Ames. And we have space for a lot of art, history, and cultural projects. So we're reaching out to artists right now in the community and starting to work with partners like the Union and Culture House on getting some projects together for that. So other than that, outside of physical spaces on 24th Street, at Spark, we have the Developer Academy. So basically that just teaches people the game if they want to become developers, especially with everything going on. I think it's a perfect time for people in our community to take that initiative and start building houses and mixed-use buildings and all those things. I see Nancy's chiming in. Like, we have a few people here that have gone through the Developer Academy. We've had 3 sessions so far, and we'll have another one in the fall. And I'll drop all this information in the chat. So if you're interested, you can definitely sign up for that. Also, we have a loan fund, which we have about $4 million in, which we can help close gaps on development projects. But then also a portion of that is set aside missing middle workforce housing funds, which is an earlier initiative by Justin Wayne. And we're working outside of all those things on, really advocating for this North Omaha revitalization plan and all the opportunities that are coming around housing, development, infrastructure needs. And I know I'm planning to be down in Lincoln on Tuesday. So that's all I have for updates right now. I mean, I can't, add too much more other than I'm equally excited, if not more excited than everyone, about all the good that's coming to North Omaha. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Manny, so much for the great work that you're doing, for all of that information that you just provided about the exciting things that are happening along 24th Street and throughout the entirety of North Omaha. You also, this is an exciting time to be a part of this community with so much opportunity, so many driven leaders at all levels of our community working together like never before. We are really on the cusp of a transformative moment for our community, and we're grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for spending time with us today as we prepare to kind of make this turn to wrapping up our conversation today. Willie, will pass it back over to you for some final updates on resources for entrepreneurship and business development and economic development. And as we mentioned before, don't go anywhere, because we do have a polling opportunity that will be coming up shortly to give you an opportunity to let your voice be heard as we begin to solidify additional priorities for moving forward beyond this point. So.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. I just wanted to put this up very quickly. With all of the excitement, amazing news that's happened today, we're going to bring this plane in for a landing very quickly. I just wanted to put this up. We'll post as much as we can on the Empower Omaha site later on today, from the transformation plan to the North Omaha recovery plan to some of the updates and PowerPoints that have been sent to us. If you can see this on the screen, I know it's kind of small, but one of the things we wanted to do, and Candace hit on this earlier, through the Revive Black Business Network, we have brought together over 300 Black-owned businesses over the last 9 years. We're formalizing that into a Black Business Network, and also working with all of these various partners that have services available to entrepreneurs in our community to create a pathway. And as Senator McKinney talked about the iHub, there are various entities, organizations that are doing amazing work. So from idea phase to business development, technical assistance, operations, credit and capital, finding space like what we've heard about today to locate your business, how to get contracts and do networking to build your business. Those are all various organizations, businesses that are doing different pieces of this that we want to be able to illustrate and make easier to contact them with their phone number, websites, classes and opportunities that they'll be offering. So we will be making that available. I did want to pause for a moment. As Manny was talking about the Forever North plan, it just reminded me that it's been 10 years since we worked together collectively to get the North Omaha Village Plan adopted by the City Council. And now to see that work continue into the Forever North plan, I want to just take a moment and recognize a couple folks. I want to recognize Michael Maroney, who helped lead the village plan and help it get to a point where development started to happen and move and the momentum started to build on 24th Street. I really want to thank Vicki Quates Ferris. I'm not sure if she's still on or not, but Vicki has been a champion since day one of the Empowerment Network, behind the scenes in many ways, whether from Native Omaha Days planning to Christmas in the village plan, the Empowerment Network. I just cannot say enough about her leadership and her role in pushing forth on both 30th Street and 24th Street. So Vicki, thank you. Really appreciate your work, the team of the Empowerment Network and all of our collaborating agencies and organizations. It's amazing to see the development, the opportunities, the movement, and now beginning to see these large-scale developments that are happening along 24th Street, 30th Street, and we want to see that spread throughout North Omaha. We want to encourage everyone, please, whether it's a letter, a phone call, or if you can be present on Tuesday as we continue to work with the state. It's amazing to see the city, county, state, community together supporting the North Omaha Recovery Plan and what that can mean as an investment to accelerate the pace of growth in North Omaha. We do not back away. We do not shy away from the issues and the barriers, some of them that have been there 30, 40, 50 years. Now is the time to use all this collective work, all of this collective energy, the investment, the know-how, the intelligence, the brilliance to move North Omaha and this city forward. It's been said through research that $4 billion will be added to the economy when North and South Omaha are involved and included equitably in this city, in this county, and this state. So it's our time. It's time to move this forward. I pray that we haven't left anyone out. I do want to mention Eric Ewing as well. He presented last year. The Great Plains Black History Museum is one of the top priorities based on surveying and polling in the community, so we'll make sure that he has an opportunity moving forward. As Jonathan has mentioned, and I'll let him give the closing word today, we want to encourage you to get involved, stay involved. It is not over. Yes, this is the 15th annual State of North Omaha, but there's a lot of work to be done. I hope you share some of the excitement that is right here, right now. It's time to move it forward. And I thank God, first of all, we all walk in faith. We're walking in purpose. I do want to pause a minute, recognize my wife, who has sacrificed a lot over this last 15 years to help get to this point. Thank her for her leadership on the business side and just all the support. So with that, I want to move it back over to you, Jonathan. Thank all of the partners. Jonathan, you get to close us out here, man. Oh, I'll let you do that. Oh, let me do that. Okay. So the 15th anniversary, it's the 15th annual State of North Omaha, but it's obviously the Rebuilding the Village Conference. I guess it's the way God intended. Magic Johnson was scheduled to come a couple years ago for the Leadership Conference, but with our transition, he is going to be our keynote speaker at the 15th annual Rebuilding the Village Conference, which will be coming up on May 20th. I was sharing with Yolanda that when I moved to Omaha 22 years ago, one of the first groups that I reached out to was Magic Johnson. And I wanted him to come and speak about his development and investments in major cities across the country. But at that time, we made a quick connection, but they weren't able to make that happen. I want to recognize Tim Christian, our board chair of the Empowerment Network, who was able to reach out and make a connection, has a relationship in the Hollywood and into the film industry, was able to connect with Magic Johnson to bring him here as our keynote speaker on May 20th. So we'll have an evening event on the 19th, and then we'll have a large-scale full-day conference on the 20th. Please, we have our early bird tickets that will be opening up next week. We encourage you to come. We want to have a great showing for Magic, and also that this is a great opportunity to highlight the work that is going on and the things that are yet to come in North Omaha specifically. So again, thank you to all of the Empowerment Network partners. Thank you to the Empowerment Network board, all of you that have hung out with us for 3 hours. Again, we're getting ready to bring this plane in for a landing, and want to say thank you to everyone. But let's please come out, be a part. Next week is huge. It's the first step, next step, in pushing forward with this LB 1024, LB 1025. We need to let the state know that we are all together. One Omaha pushing, North Omaha united. That's what we are. Back to you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Willie, so much. And as I offer my final comments, I will also, we'll go ahead and launch this poll. We've got a couple of questions here that we would like your feedback and your input on, just as we continue to refine our focus and our intentions with moving forward. So you should see those questions popping up on your screen now. And as you're reading through those and completing those questions, I hope that we really take an opportunity to appreciate what has happened today. A lot of communities around our country and even around the world are reeling from the impacts and the negative effects of this coronavirus pandemic. And a lot of people are struggling to figure out how to move forward. But we are so blessed here in Omaha, Nebraska, with leadership that has continued to move forward each and every day in the face of once in a generation obstacles and difficulties. Our community came together through the difficulty of the racial unrest, through all of the economic challenges. We have continued to stay together. And because of that, we are positioned in 2022 to be a part of a transformation in the community that you only read about in history books. When we think about the civil rights movement, when we think about emancipation and Reconstruction and the amazing progress that Black people have been able to make in our country, this is our moment. This is the moment that we were birthed for. This is the moment that we've been overcoming all of our obstacles and all of our struggles for. This is the moment that we've endured all of the frustration and all of the anxiety. This is the moment that we've been waiting on and that we've been fighting for, and that our children and our grandchildren are depending on us for. And so as we continue to look forward to the future of not only the development of buildings, but the development of our people, because at the end of the day, that is the kind of transformation that we're really looking forward to in our community, is the opportunity to transform lives, to make sure that our people no longer have to be comfortable in poverty, but where we can embrace the opportunity to pursue our greatest dreams and to make our impact not only around the world, but right here in our own backyard. Those opportunities are here before us. People are setting the example. They're modeling the behaviors for us. All we have to do is continue to come together and work together. We can allow all of our groups and our names and our titles and our organizations and where we're from and all of those things to continue to separate us and divide us. And we can miss out on this opportunity and never have another one like it in our lives again. Or we can keep the main thing the main thing. And we can allow our love for this community and our love for one another to continue to help us to focus the way that we need to stay united together in the way that we need to, in order to see this moment become one of those legacy moments, to see this moment become one of those historical moments, to be able to tell our children and our grandchildren about the amazing opportunity that we took advantage of to be able to be the catalyst to bring about change through our community. And it's not just about us, because there are communities all around our country right now that are watching what's happening in Omaha. And so the work that you do is not only for you, it's not only for your organization, it's not only for your neighborhood and not only for this community, but this is for Black people all across America and all around the world. You all, there are amazing things happening. I mean, we had some phenomenal announcements that took place today, but that's not even the beginning of it. Can you imagine what kind of doors are going to open when Magic Johnson comes to Omaha and finds out about what Carmen Tapio is doing on 24th and Lake? I mean, can you imagine the kind of investment opportunities and the kind of potential that's going to be seen, and the additional investment, the additional collaboration and connection? We are on the verge of an amazing moment. This is one of those, to get biblical, this is one of those exiting Egypt and headed toward the promised land kind of moments. And there's still a a journey to get there, but it's going to be absolutely worth it when we do. But we have to get there together. So thank you all for being a part of our conversation today. Thank you so much to all of our presenters who did a phenomenal job, to all of our community leaders that do the work day in and day out, those that have titles and those that don't, those that get platforms and those that don't. Thank you, each and every one of you, because no one person, no one organization makes this happen. It is the collective work that continues to allow us to make the progress that we've made. And I know that the enemy isn't happy about the kind of unity and connection and collaboration that we're experiencing right now, but we're going to continue to pray that that the enemy has no room to be able to divide us, to be able to divert and distract us from the work. We're going to continue to move forward as a unified community in pursuit of everything that God has for us. We are grateful for each and every one of you. Please spread the word about the exciting things that are happening. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your church members, anytime you hear somebody talking negatively about what's happening in North Omaha, you tell them about what you heard today. And let's watch God do some amazing things all throughout this community. We thank you. We love you. And I do want to pause before I end this just to say thank you, Willie, for your leadership in all of this. People have no idea the tireless hours that you put in order to help us continue to move through this together. And I know you don't like the shout outs, but I'm gonna give you one because you deserve it. I mean, God is doing some amazing things through you, and we're just grateful for your example. And I am personally appreciative of just the opportunity to learn from you and to grow to be a better leader myself. So thank you so much for all that you do and for all that you are. And again, to each and every one of you that have been with us all day today, thank you. This is not the end. Don't forget to complete that survey so that you can get plugged in to any of the initiatives that we've discussed today. One of our team members will reach out to you and follow up with you to make sure that you can get connected to the work. And be ready, because early bird registration is on the horizon for our upcoming 15th annual Rebuilding the Village Conference. And so you want to jump in at that early bird rate, because people are going to be excited about the magic coming to Omaha. We appreciate you all. Thank you again so much. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.